The polished mahogany conference table reflected the morning sunlight as I ran my cleaning cloth across its surface one last time. 7 years ago, this had been part of my nightly routine, ensuring every inch of Sterling Industries' executive floor gleamed before dawn. Now, I was here for a different reason entirely. Miss Sullivan? My assistant Michael's voice came through the intercom. The Sterling board members are arriving. I straightened my tailored navy suit Armani, though they wouldn't expect someone with my background to know the difference. Send them in. 7 years of careful planning had led to this moment. 7 years of night classes, strategic moves, and quiet acquisitions, all while they overlooked me just as they had when I cleaned their offices each night. The board members filed in, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. I recognized most of them from my janitorial days, though none of them recognized me. Why would they? Back then, I had been invisible. Marcus Sterling III, the CEO, entered last. His famous scowl deepened when he saw me standing at the head of the table. "This must be some mistake," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "This is a closed board meeting regarding the acquisition offer." "No mistake," I replied calmly. "Please, take your seats." They settled into their chairs, the same chairs I used to dust every night while listening to their late meetings, absorbing every detail about how they ran their company, and all the ways they were running it into the ground. Now, Marcus began, shuffling his papers importantly, about this mysterious offer from Summit Enterprises. "Yes," I smiled. "Let's discuss that." I picked up the remote and dimmed the blinds, activating the presentation screen. The Summit Enterprises logo appeared, my company's logo, though they didn't know that yet. "Our analysis suggests this is a hostile takeover attempt," Marcus continued. "Some upstart trying to capitalize on our temporary market vulnerability." Temporary. That's what they'd been calling their 3-year decline, their plummeting stock price, their losing battle with modernization. I'd watched it all, first as their janitor, then as their silent competitor. "Before we continue," I said, "I should introduce myself properly." I pressed another button on the remote. My full bio appeared on screen, alongside the Summit Enterprises executive structure. The blood drained from Marcus's face as he read. Next to him, Richard Hayes, who once complained that I'd missed a spot on his window, started coughing violently. "I'm Sarah Sullivan, CEO of Summit Enterprises. Though you might remember me better as the janitor who cleaned your offices from 2016 to 2019. The silence that followed was deafening. 7 pairs of eyes stared at me in disbelief. "This is absurd," Marcus finally sputtered. "A former janitor can't possibly." I held up my hand, cutting him off. "A former janitor who put herself through business school at night. Who learned your entire operation from the ground up, literally. Who saw how you wasted resources, ignored innovation, and treated your employees like furniture." I pressed the remote once more. The blinds opened fully, revealing the downtown skyline and the Summit Enterprises logo being installed on the building across the street. My new headquarters, strategically positioned where they'd have to see it every day. "Welcome to my office, gentlemen. Though I suppose technically, you're still in yours, for now." That meeting was just the beginning. Over the next 3 hours, I laid out exactly how their outdated practices, bloated management structure, and resistance to change had left them vulnerable. I showed them the numbers they'd been hiding from themselves, the market share they'd been hemorrhaging, and most importantly, the solution I was offering. "Summit Enterprises will acquire Sterling Industries," I explained, "but not to dismantle it. To transform it. To make it what it could have been if you'd spent more time listening to your employees and less time looking down on them." As I talked, I remembered all the conversations I'd overheard while cleaning, all the frustrated employees whose suggestions were ignored, all the potential wasted because of pride and tradition. "The offer is more than fair," I continued, sliding copies of the proposal across the table. "Your shareholders will be protected. Your employees will keep their jobs, with better benefits, I might add. The only significant changes will be in the executive structure." Marcus's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "You expect us to sell our 100-year-old company to someone who knows it better than you do?" I finished for him. "Someone who started at the bottom instead of the top." "Yes, that's exactly what I expect." I stood, walking to the window. From here, I could see both buildings, the old-world grandeur of Sterling Industries and the sleek modernity of Summit Enterprises. They were a perfect metaphor for this moment, the past meeting the future. 7 years ago, I said quietly, I was working 3 jobs to put myself through school. During one of your late-night meetings, I heard you talking about how some people are meant to be leaders and others are meant to be servants. Do you remember that conversation, Mr. Sterling? He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I decided right then that I would prove you wrong. Not out of spite, but because I saw something you didn't. The view from the bottom shows you everything wrong with the top. I turned back to face them. Your shareholders' meeting is in 2 days. They'll vote on this acquisition with or without your blessing. But I'm offering you the chance to be part of the transition, to help build something better than what your grandfather started. Richard Hayes, who had finally recovered from his coughing fit, leaned forward. Why? Why offer us anything? I smiled. Because good leadership isn't about revenge. It's about improvement. And despite everything, I learned valuable lessons here even if they weren't the ones you meant to teach. The rest of the day passed in a blur of lawyers, signatures, and negotiations. By evening, I stood alone in my office, my real office, in the Summit building. The Sterling Industries logo glowed across the street, soon to be replaced with mine. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. How did it go? I thought about the board members' faces when they realized who I was. About Marcus Sterling's stunned expression when he saw his company's true numbers. About the years spent working my way up while they weren't looking. It went exactly as planned, I replied. They never saw it coming. Mom sent back a heart emoji. She'd been there through it all, the late nights, the exhaustion, the doubt. She'd helped me practice presentations in our tiny kitchen while I was still wearing my janitor's uniform. She'd believed in me when no one else did. My assistant Michael knocked softly before entering. Miss Sullivan? The press release is ready for your review. I took the tablet, reading the headline, Summit Enterprises acquires Sterling Industries in historic deal. Below it, a subheading, CEO Sarah Sullivan revolutionizes corporate leadership path. Should we mention your history with the company? Michael asked carefully. I considered it. Part of me wanted to shout my story from the rooftops, to make sure everyone knew about the janitor who became CEO. But that wasn't why I'd done this. No, I decided. Let's focus on the future. On what we're building, not where we started. He nodded, understanding. Michael had been one of the first employees I'd hired, another person whose potential others had overlooked. Now he was my right hand, proof that good leadership means recognizing talent wherever it appears. Looking out my window at the city skyline, I thought about all the other people out there like me, the ones working late, studying when they should be sleeping, slowly building something while the world isn't watching. My phone buzzed again, an email from Marcus Sterling. Ms. Sullivan. I owe you an apology, not just for today, but for every day you worked here without being seen. You've built something remarkable, and you did it the right way, from the ground up. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you'll let me learn from you. It seems I have a lot to learn. Sincerely, Marcus Sterling III. I smiled, remembering the night I'd overheard him complaining about a water spot on his desk. I'd cleaned it twice already, but he'd never noticed, just like he'd never noticed me taking night classes, or studying market reports during my lunch breaks, or slowly building the company that would eventually acquire his. But this wasn't about proving him wrong, it was about proving myself right. I typed back, thank you for your note. There's nothing to forgive. Sometimes the best view of a building's weaknesses comes from the person who cleans its windows. I look forward to working together to build something stronger. Setting down my phone, I walked to the small table where I kept my most precious possessions. Among them was my old ID badge from Sterling Industries, Sarah Sullivan, Janitorial Services. Next to it sat my new one, Sarah Sullivan, CEO, Summit Enterprises. The contrast made me smile, not because one was better than the other, but because both had taught me essential lessons about leadership, about seeing potential in unexpected places, about building something meaningful while others weren't looking. My intercom buzzed. Ms. Sullivan, the transition team is ready for you. Thank you, Michael, I'll be right there. I took one last look at both buildings, the past and the future, the old way and the new. Tomorrow, we'd begin the work of combining them, of taking what worked from Sterling's century of experience and merging it with Summit's innovation. But tonight, I allowed myself a moment to appreciate the journey, from cleaning offices to owning them, from being invisible to being unstoppable. It was a path I never could have planned, but one I wouldn't change for anything. Because sometimes the best leaders aren't born at the top, sometimes they work their way up, learning every floor, every job, every challenge along the way, and sometimes, just sometimes, they end up owning the building they used to clean. The next morning, I arrived early, just like I used to during my janitorial days. The security guard did a double take. He was used to seeing me in suits now, not knowing I'd once worn a uniform just like his. "Good morning, James," I said, remembering how he'd shared his coffee with me during those long night shifts. "How's your daughter doing at college?" His face lit up. "She's thriving, Miss Sullivan. That scholarship program you started, it changed her life." I smiled, remembering the night I'd overheard James talking about struggling to afford his daughter's tuition. One of my first acts as CEO had been to establish an education program for employees' children. The board had called it unnecessary, the employees called it revolutionary. The elevator carried me to the top floor, the same one I used to clean, though it looked different now. Gone were the stuffy oil paintings of Sterling patriarchs. Instead, the walls showcased art from local artists, many of them employees. My new office, formerly Marcus Sterling's, had been transformed too, where heavy curtains once blocked the light. Floor-to-ceiling windows now offered views of both buildings. The massive mahogany desk had been replaced with a modern workstation, and in the corner, displayed prominently, sat my old cleaning cart. Some thought it was strange to keep it there, but it reminded me of important lessons. Every job has dignity, every perspective has value, and sometimes the person pushing the broom understands more about your company than the person in the corner office. The morning news was already reporting on the acquisition. Business channels debated the strategy behind it. Industry analysts praised the innovation, but none of them knew the whole story, how years of being overlooked had taught me to see opportunities others missed. My phone buzzed with a message from Richard Hayes. "The board meeting room hasn't been this clean since you left." I laughed, typing back, "Just wait until you see what else I can do with this place." The day unfolded in a whirlwind of meetings, each one a step toward transforming Sterling Industries into something new. We discussed modernization plans, employee initiatives, sustainability goals, all the things I'd dreamed of implementing while pushing my cleaning cart through empty hallways. By evening, I stood in the old Sterling boardroom one last time. Tomorrow, construction would begin to renovate it, but tonight it remained unchanged, a testament to how things used to be. I ran my hand across the mahogany table, remembering all the nights I'd polished it while eavesdropping on late meetings, every complaint about outdated systems, every dismissed suggestion from lower-level employees, every missed opportunity for innovation. I'd absorbed them all, turning them into the blueprint for Summit Enterprises. My phone buzzed again, a message from my mother. "Saw you on the news. Honey, your father would have been so proud." I smiled, thinking of him. He'd been a janitor too, at a different company. "Look for the things others miss," he'd always said. "That's where the real opportunities are." He hadn't lived to see Summit Enterprises become what it was, but his wisdom had guided every step. I'd built this company on the principle that every voice matters, every perspective adds value, and sometimes the best ideas come from the most unexpected places. The cleaning crew arrived, new uniforms, better pay, full benefits, another change I'd implemented immediately. They seemed surprised to see me there. "Don't let me interrupt," I said, moving toward the door, "though if you don't mind, could I borrow that cleaning cloth for a moment?" They watched, confused, as I gave the table one last polish, one perfect swooping motion, just like I used to do. "Old habits," I smiled, handing back the cloth. "Keep up the good work." As I walked to my car that night, both buildings glowed against the darkening sky. Tomorrow, the Sterling logo would come down, and a new era would begin, but its legacy wouldn't be lost, just transformed into something better. My assistant had left one last document on my desk, the final employee memo about the acquisition. I'd written it myself, ending with words I hoped would resonate. "To everyone at Sterling Industries. Tomorrow we begin a new chapter. Some will call it a takeover, but I prefer to think of it as an evolution, because good companies, like good leaders, can come from anywhere. They can start in the mailroom, the maintenance department, or yes, even the janitorial staff. I know, because that's where I started, and if my journey from cleaning offices to running them teaches us anything, it's that potential exists everywhere if we're willing to look for it. Welcome to Summit Enterprises. Let's build something extraordinary together. Sincerely, Sarah Sullivan, CEO. I signed it, feeling the weight of the moment. Then I turned off the lights and headed home, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's building something so meaningful that those who overlooked you have no choice but to look up and see your name on the building. And sometimes, just sometimes, it starts with a person pushing a broom, dreaming of something bigger while everyone else is looking the other way. The end.
The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps as I tried to piece together where I was. Everything felt wrong. The scratchy sheets, the antiseptic smell, the restraints around my wrists. My head throbbed, and fragments of memories flashed through my mind like a broken film reel. Screeching tires, shattering glass, the world spinning violently. "Good morning, Caroline. How are you feeling today?" A nurse in pale blue scrubs approached my bed, checking the monitors beside me. Her name tag read June. "Where am I?" My voice came out raspy, unfamiliar. "What happened?" "You're at Riverside Psychiatric Hospital. You were in a car accident 3 days ago. Do you remember anything about that?" The accident. Yes, I remembered driving home from the office, taking that sharp curve on Miller Road. But something else nagged at my memory. A flash of another vehicle, deliberately swerving toward me. "I shouldn't be here," I said, pulling against the restraints. "I need to call my sister Natalie. She needs to know I'm okay." June's expression shifted slightly. "Your sister is already aware of your situation. In fact, she's the one who had you admitted." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Natalie had me committed? The same sister who'd been fighting me for control of our parents' company for the past year? That's impossible. There must be some mistake. I struggled to sit up straighter. "I'm Caroline Bell. I'm 32 years old, and I'm the COO of Bell Industries. I need to speak with someone in charge." "Dr. Matthews will be doing rounds soon," June said soothingly. "Try to stay calm. Getting agitated won't help your situation." As she turned to leave, I heard voices in the hallway. Through the small window in my door, I caught glimpses of 2 staff members talking. Natalie's instructions were very clear. Needs to be kept under observation. Substantial donation to the hospital. My blood ran cold. The accident, the admission, Natalie's involvement. It was all starting to make terrible sense. The last board meeting flashed through my mind, where I'd challenged Natalie's proposal to sell off our parents' legacy to investors. She'd been livid, threatening that I'd regret standing in her way. A young woman in casual clothes entered my room, introducing herself as Rosalind, a social worker. She sat in the chair beside my bed, notebook in hand. "How about we talk about what brought you here?" she asked, her tone gentle but professional. "What brought me here was my sister trying to get rid of me," I said flatly. "The accident wasn't an accident." Rosalind's pen paused mid-note. "That's quite an accusation. Why would your sister want to harm you?" "Because I'm the only thing standing between her and complete control of our family's company." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Look, I know how this sounds, but I'm not crazy. Yesterday, I was running a multi-million-dollar business. Today, I'm strapped to a hospital bed while my sister probably sits in my office, planning her next move." "Caroline, paranoid thoughts are common after trauma." "This isn't paranoia," I interrupted. "Check my records. Call my friend Stephen Marshall. He's an attorney. He'll verify everything I'm saying." A tall, lanky patient shuffled past my door, pausing to wave. His grin was friendly, almost conspiratorial. The name tag on his robe read, Van. "New arrival?" he called out cheerfully. "Welcome to the circus." "Mr. Gray, please return to your room," Rosalind said firmly, but not unkindly. As Van wandered away, I caught him mumbling something about the sister who visits too much. Rosalind turned back to me, her expression thoughtful. "I'll look into contacting Mr. Marshall. In the meantime, try to rest. The more cooperative you are, the faster we can evaluate your condition." After she left, I lay back against the pillows, my mind racing. I needed to find a way to prove what Natalie had done. But how could I gather evidence while trapped in here? And who would believe me? The crazy sister locked away in a psychiatric hospital. The sun was setting outside my window, painting the sterile room in shades of orange and purple. As I watched the colors fade, I made myself a promise. I would find a way out of here. And when I did, Natalie would learn that she'd made a terrible mistake in underestimating me. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. June returned with my evening medication. As she handed me the paper cup of pills, her eyes met mine for a brief moment. Something in her expression made me wonder if she'd overheard more than she let on about Natalie's instructions. I swallowed the pills, already planning my next move. If Natalie thought she could bury me in here, she was about to discover just how wrong she was. The group therapy room felt like a fishbowl, with its circular arrangement of chairs and watchful eyes. I'd been here 3 days now, learning the rhythms of the ward and searching for allies. "Caroline, would you like to share today?" Dr. Matthews gestured toward me, his clipboard poised. Before I could respond, Van spoke up from across the circle. "Doc, let's not pressure the newbie. She's still getting her bearings." He winked at me, and I noticed how his seemingly scattered demeanor masked an alert intelligence. After the session, Van caught up with me in the common room. "Your sister visited again this morning," he said casually, dealing cards for solitaire. "Quite the actress, isn't she?" All those concerned looks and whispered conversations with the staff. My hands clenched. "You've seen Natalie?" "Third time this week. Always dressed like she's heading to a board meeting. Always leaving with a satisfied smile." He laid down an ace. "The walls here have ears, you know. And eyes." Rosalind appeared beside us, clipboard in hand. "Caroline, do you have a moment? I'd like to discuss your treatment plan." In her office, Rosalind closed the door and lowered her voice. "I've been reviewing your case. Something doesn't add up. Finally, someone who sees it." I leaned forward. "Did you contact Stefan?" "I tried. Your sister has restricted your contacts list, but—" She hesitated, then pulled out a file. "I found inconsistencies in your admission papers. The toxicology report from the accident seems altered." A knock interrupted us. June entered with medication cups, but her expression was urgent. "Dr. Matthews is heading this way for rounds." Rosalind quickly tucked the file away. As June set down the cups, she slipped something under my cup. A small folded note. Back in my room, I carefully unfolded it. "Dig deeper. Not everyone here is on her payroll." That night, I couldn't sleep. The note burned in my mind, along with questions about who I could trust. A soft tap on my door broke through my thoughts. "Midnight snack run," Van whispered, poking his head in. "Want to join the adventure?" In the dimly lit common room, Van introduced me to another patient, Maria, who worked in the hospital kitchen during the day. She passed us contraband cookies while Van kept watch. "Your sister," Maria said between bites. "She's been meeting with Dr. Matthews in his private office. Long meetings, never during normal hours." "How do you know this?" "I deliver their coffee. They don't notice the kitchen staff. We're like furniture to them." She brushed crumbs from her robe. "Yesterday, I heard them discussing your treatment duration. She wants you here long-term." My stomach churned. I need proof. Something concrete. "Maybe you already have it," Van suggested. "That crash report Rosalind mentioned? There might be more where that came from." The next morning, Rosalind pulled me aside during recreation time. "I found something else," she said, leading me to a quiet corner. "Before I show you this, you should know why I'm helping you." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing old scars. 5 years ago, I was where you are. My brother had me committed when I discovered he was embezzling from our father's estate. By the time I got out, everything was gone. "How did you end up working here?" Part of my recovery was becoming a social worker. I promised myself I'd never let someone else go through what I did. She pulled out another document. "This is the original police report from your accident. Notice anything strange?" I scanned the paper. The witness statements, they're different from what I was told. And these skid marks, they show 2 vehicles, not one. Exactly. Someone modified the official record, but they missed this preliminary report. Footsteps approached. We quickly separated as Dr. Matthews rounded the corner. "Caroline, how are we feeling today?" he asked, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Much better, doctor. The medication is really helping." I forced myself to look compliant, docile. After he left, Van appeared as if from nowhere. "Nice performance, but we need to move faster. I overheard the nurses. Your sister's pushing for a transfer to a long-term facility. We won't let that happen," Rosalind said firmly. "Caroline, check under your mattress tonight. You'll find something interesting." That evening, as June did her rounds, she lingered in my doorway. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the night shift leaves the records room unlocked, around 2 a.m. when they do bed checks in the East Wing." I slipped my hand under my mattress and found a small key card. My heart raced as I realized what it meant. Access to proof, to freedom, to justice. Van's words from earlier echoed in my mind. The walls have ears. But now I knew those ears weren't just listening for Natalie. They were listening for me too. And maybe, just maybe, they were on my side. The records room key card felt heavy in my pocket as I waited for 2 a.m. Van had agreed to create a distraction in the East Wing, giving me precious minutes to search for evidence. "Ready?" Rosalind whispered, appearing beside my bed. She was working a night shift, coordinating with June to ensure our path would be clear. Right on schedule, Van's voice echoed down the hallway. "Spider, massive spider in my room. Help, it's probably poisonous." As staff rushed to investigate, I slipped out of bed. June stood at her station, deliberately looking down at her paperwork as I passed. The records room lock clicked open smoothly. Rosalind guided me to a computer terminal while keeping watch at the door. "Quick," she said. "Search for your admission documents." My fingers flew across the keyboard. "Look at this," I whispered. Natalie submitted a power of attorney form the day of the accident. The timestamp. It's before the crash even happened. "Save it to this." Rosalind handed me a small USB drive. "What else can you find?" I dug deeper into the system, uncovering a trail of damning evidence. Emails between Natalie and Dr. Matthews discussing my treatment plan before I was even admitted. Financial transactions, modified medical reports. "Caroline," Rosalind hissed. "Someone's coming." I quickly closed the files and pulled the drive, but not before printing one crucial document. We barely made it into the supply closet before footsteps passed by. "That was too close," Rosalind breathed. "But look what I grabbed while you were searching." She pulled out a folder labeled Bell Industries Financial Records. Back in my room, we examined our findings. The folder contained copies of company documents showing massive transfers of funds just days before my accident. "She's been embezzling," I said, connecting the dots. "That's why she needed me out of the way." I was getting too close to the quarterly audit. A soft knock interrupted us. Van entered, looking pleased with himself. "My performance was Oscar-worthy. You should have seen them trying to catch that imaginary spider." "We found proof," I told him, showing the documents. "But it's not enough. We need something concrete linking Natalie to the crash itself." "About that?" Van said, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper. "Maria overheard your sister on the phone in the parking lot today. She wrote down the number." Rosalind's eyes widened. "I recognize this area code. It's from the same region where your accident happened." The next morning, during my scheduled phone time, I called Stefan for the first time since my admission. Natalie had finally approved him as a contact, probably thinking it would make her look less suspicious. "Caroline, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for weeks." "Stefan, listen carefully. I don't have much time. I need you to investigate a phone number." After I recited the digits, he went quiet. "That's interesting. Very interesting." "What? What is it?" "That number belongs to Mike from Premier Auto Shop, the same garage where your car was taken after the crash. I'll pay him a visit." Later that day, during art therapy, Van passed me a note. "Package arriving tomorrow. Special delivery." The package came hidden in my lunch tray. A small envelope containing photographs. They showed my mangled car at the garage, but more importantly, They showed clear evidence of tampering with the brake lines. "This is it," Rosalind said, examining the photos. "Physical proof of sabotage." "There's more," June added, joining our hushed conversation. "Dr. Matthews just received a large wire transfer from a shell company. I saw the notification on his computer when he left it unlocked." "Let me guess," I said. "The company traces back to Natalie?" June nodded. "I took screenshots." We spread our evidence across my bed. Financial records, admission documents, crash photos, phone records, and wire transfers. Each piece alone might not be enough, but together they told a story of calculated malice. "What's our next move?" Van asked. "We need to get this to the board of directors," I said. "But first, we need someone on the inside who can verify these documents." "I might know someone," Rosalind said. "Daniel, the board member who voted against your sister's last proposal. He's been asking questions about your sudden absence." As we formulated our plan, a familiar click of heels echoed down the hallway. Natalie's voice carried through the door as she spoke to Dr. Matthews. "Everything needs to be finalized before next week's board meeting," she was saying. "After that, we'll discuss moving her to a more permanent facility." We quickly gathered the evidence, hiding it just as my door opened. Natalie entered, her smile as artificial as ever. "Hello, dear sister," she said sweetly. "How are you feeling today?" I matched her fake smile with one of my own. "Better than you'll be feeling very soon." "Are you sure about this?" June asked, her hands shaking as she prepared to make the call. We were in the staff break room during her lunch break, using her personal phone. "It's our best shot," I said. "Daniel needs to hear this from someone inside the hospital, someone who can verify my condition." June dialed the number Rosalind had provided. After 3 rings, a deep voice answered. "Mr. Daniel, this is June Hopkins from Riverside Psychiatric. I'm calling about Caroline Bell." I held my breath as she explained the situation, carefully laying out the evidence of Dr. Matthews' collusion with Natalie. Daniel's responses were brief but intense enough that I could hear them through the phone. "You're saying she's being held against her will?" His voice crackled through the speaker. "With falsified medical records?" "We have proof," June replied. "But we need someone on the board to help us present it." A long pause followed. "Meet me tonight. The coffee shop 2 blocks from the hospital. 8 p.m. After ending the call, June turned to me. "How are we going to get you out of here for the meeting?" "Leave that to me," Van said, appearing in the doorway. "I've got a talent for creating chaos." That evening, as dinner service began, Van's plan unfolded. He started by dropping his tray, causing a commotion in the cafeteria. While staff rushed to clean up, Maria accidentally set off the smoke alarm in the kitchen. In the ensuing confusion, Rosalind escorted me through the service entrance where June waited in her car. "We have 45 minutes, Rosalind said. "Make them count." The coffee shop was quiet when we arrived. Daniel sat in a corner booth, his expression grave as we approached. "Caroline," he said, standing, "you look surprisingly well for someone supposedly having a psychotic break." "Funny how that works when you're not actually crazy," I replied, sliding into the booth. June spread out copies of our evidence on the table. Daniel's face darkened as he examined each document. "The board meeting is in 3 days," he said finally. "Natalie's planning to have you declared mentally incompetent and transfer your voting shares to her control." "Not if we can help it," June interjected. "But we need your help to get Caroline out legally." Daniel studied the wire transfer records. "This is definitely illegal, but we need more. Something that directly links Natalie to the crash." "Stefan's working on that," I said. "He's meeting with the mechanic tomorrow." Suddenly, June's phone buzzed. A text from Rosalind. "Dr. Matthews doing surprise rounds. Get back now." We rushed back to the hospital, barely making it before the doctor reached my floor. I slipped into bed just as his footsteps approached. "Everything okay in here?" Dr. Matthews asked, peering into my room. "Just fine." I smiled drowsily. The new medication really helps me sleep. The next morning, Van brought news during our daily walk in the hospital garden. "A package arrived for you," he whispered. Stefan dropped it off at the front desk. Rosalind intercepted it before Natalie's people could see it. In the privacy of Rosalind's office, we opened the package. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten confession from Mike, the mechanic, detailing how Natalie had paid him to tamper with my car's brake lines. "This is it," Rosalind breathed. "This is what we needed." A knock at the door made us jump. June entered, looking pale. "We have a problem," she said. I just overheard Dr. Matthews on the phone. "Natalie's moving up the timeline. She's transferring you to another facility tomorrow morning." "What? She can't do that." I stood up, panic rising. "She can with Dr. Matthews' approval, which she already has," June replied. "The paperwork's being processed now." Van paced the small office. "We need to move tonight. Daniel can help, right?" "He's not answering his phone," Rosalind said, trying the number again. Just then, my room phone rang. We rushed back, and I answered on speaker. "Caroline?" It was Stefan. "I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I have video evidence of Natalie meeting with the mechanic before your accident. The bad news? Daniel's been called to an emergency board meeting. Tonight. She's making her move," I realized. "She's going to push through the transfer of power before we can stop her. Not if I can help it," Stefan said firmly. "I'm on my way to the hospital now. We're getting you out of there tonight, legally or not." As I hung up, June, Rosalind, and Van looked at me expectantly. "Well?" Van asked. "What's the plan?" I took a deep breath. "We're going to crash a board meeting." Stefan's black sedan idled in the hospital's back parking lot as our plan went into motion. Van had orchestrated his biggest distraction yet. A full-blown musical performance in the day room, complete with other patients singing "Don't Stop Believin'" at the top of their lungs. "Dr. Matthews to the day room, stat." The overhead speaker crackled with urgency. "That's our cue," Rosalind said, hurrying me toward the service elevator. June had already disabled the alarm on the emergency exit. "Wait," I paused, turning to Van, who was preparing to rejoin his impromptu choir. "Thank you for everything." He grinned. "Give her hell, Caroline." The cool night air hit my face as we rushed to Stefan's car. He looked professional as ever in his suit, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "The board meeting started 15 minutes ago," he said, pulling away from the hospital. "Natalie's presenting her case for emergency conservatorship right now. What about the evidence?" I asked. Stefan patted his briefcase. "All here, including this." He handed me his phone, showing a video. "Watch." The footage showed Natalie meeting the mechanic in a parking garage 3 days before my accident. The audio was crystal clear. "Make it look like an accident," Natalie's voice said. "Once she's out of the way, the company's mine." "Jesus," Rosalind whispered from the back seat. "There's more," Stefan said. "The mechanic gave us everything. Bank transfers, text messages, the whole plot." As we sped toward downtown, June called from the hospital. "Dr. Matthews just discovered Caroline's missing. Natalie's been notified." "Perfect timing," Stefan smiled grimly. "We're almost there." The Bell Industries building loomed ahead, its top floors still lit for the emergency board meeting. Security knew Stefan, waving us through without question. "14th floor," Stefan directed as we entered the elevator. "Rosalind, you have the medical records?" She patted her bag. "Everything showing the falsified diagnoses and unauthorized treatments." The elevator opened directly into a reception area. Through glass doors, we could see the boardroom. Natalie stood at the head of the table, mid-presentation. Clearly unable to make rational decisions, her voice carried through the doors. As her only living relative, I must act in Caroline's best interest. I pushed through the doors. "Is that what you call attempting to murder me?" The room erupted in chaos. Board members jumped to their feet. Natalie's face went white. "Caroline? How did you're supposed to be heavily sedated? Locked away? Sorry to disappoint." I nodded to Stefan, who began distributing copies of our evidence to each board member. "What is this?" Natalie snatched a packet, her hands shaking as she read. Everything, I said. The mechanic's confession, bank records, your little garage meeting where you ordered the hit on me. Oh, and let's not forget Dr. Matthews' creative bookkeeping. Daniel stood up. I moved to suspend this meeting pending investigation of these allegations. You can't believe this. Natalie laughed desperately. She's delusional. These documents are obviously fake. Are these fake too? Rosalind stepped forward, presenting her hospital credentials and the original medical records. I'm a licensed social worker, and I can testify that Ms. Bell has been held against her will under falsified psychiatric orders. Security arrived, summoned by another board member. Natalie's eyes darted toward the exit. Don't even think about it, Stefan warned. Police are already on their way. Why, Natalie? I asked, finally facing my sister directly. Was the company really worth trying to kill me? You never understood, she spat. You were always Mom and Dad's favorite. They never thought I could run things, but I showed them, didn't I? I almost had it all. Ms. Bell, a security guard approached Natalie. Please come with us. As they led her away, she turned back one last time. I should have made sure you were dead in that crash. The room fell silent. Board members stared in shock at their packets of evidence. Daniel was already on the phone with the company lawyers. Caroline, Stefan touched my arm. The police will want to take your statement. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. Rosalind squeezed my hand supportively. What happens now? She asked. Looking around the boardroom, my boardroom, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Now? Now we rebuild. But first, I need to make some calls, starting with the hospital board about a certain Dr. Matthews. June texted. Dr. Matthews just got a visit from the medical board. Van's leading the whole ward and Nana, hey, goodbye. I couldn't help but smile. My makeshift family had come through. They'd believed in me when no one else would. As police officers entered the boardroom, I stood tall, ready to tell my story. Not as a victim, but as a survivor. Natalie had tried to bury me, not realizing I was a seed. And now, I was finally breaking through to the light. The police station buzzed with activity as I finished giving my statement. Detective Morris closed his notebook and leaned back in his chair. So, Dr. Matthews was receiving payments through a shell company registered in your sister's name? He asked. Yes, and there's more. I pulled out the USB drive. The hospital's financial records show irregular payments dating back months before my accident. Stefan entered the interview room with fresh coffee. The DA's office is moving quickly. They've already frozen Natalie's accounts and seized documents from her home. Ms. Bell, Detective Morris said, we'll need you to testify before a grand jury next week. Your sister's looking at attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud. A knock interrupted us. Rosalind poked her head in. Sorry, but you need to see this. She held up her phone, showing a news website. The headline read, Bell Industries Scandal, CEO arrested in murder plot against sister. The press is outside, Stefan warned, along with some board members demanding answers. I stood up, straightening my borrowed blazer. Then let's give them answers. The station's steps were crowded with reporters and cameras. Daniel waited at the bottom, looking concerned. The shareholders are panicking, he said quietly. We need to show stability. Fast. I approached the microphones, camera lights blinding me. I'll take questions. Ms. Bell, is it true your sister tried to have you killed? What about the psychiatric hospital cover-up? Will you resume control of Bell Industries? I held up my hand for silence. 3 weeks ago, I was nearly killed in what appeared to be a car accident. Today, we have proof it was a deliberate attempt on my life, orchestrated by my sister, Natalie Bell. But this isn't just about family betrayal. It's about corporate corruption that nearly destroyed a company our parents built from nothing. The cameras clicked frantically as I continued. Effective immediately, I'm resuming my position as COO. Our first priority will be a complete audit of all company transactions during my absence. Bell Industries has always stood for integrity, and that won't change. Back inside, June called with updates from the hospital. Dr. Matthews is under investigation by the medical board. Half the staff has come forward with statements about suspicious practices. How's Van doing? I asked. Leading a patient rebellion. They're demanding better food in the cafeteria now that the corrupt administration is gone. I laughed, then turned serious. June, I want to offer you a job. Head of HR at Bell Industries. We need someone with your integrity. There was a pause. Are you sure? Absolutely. Rosalind, too, if she wants it. Corporate Ethics Compliance Officer. Rosalind, who'd been listening, smiled. Count me in. Stefan interrupted with urgent news. Natalie's asking to see you. The holding cell was gray and cold. Natalie sat in an orange jumpsuit, her perfect makeup gone, her confidence shattered. Come to gloat? She asked as I sat across from her. No, I came to understand why. She laughed bitterly. You really don't know? Every time Mom and Dad praised your work, every time they chose you for important projects, I was just the backup plan. The spare. That's not true, and you know it. They loved us both. Love doesn't pay bills or build empires. She leaned forward. I had to prove I could do it better than you. I had to show them they were wrong about me. They're dead, Natalie. You were trying to prove something to ghosts. And now I've lost everything. Her voice cracked. The company, my freedom, my sister. I stood up. You lost me the moment you decided to kill me. Walking out, I found Stefan waiting. The board wants to meet tomorrow morning. Early damage control. Schedule it for 9. And Stefan? Thank you for believing me when everyone thought I was crazy. Hey, what are friends for? He smiled. Besides, you do the same for me. That evening, we gathered at my apartment. Stefan, Rosalind, June, and Van, now officially discharged. Pizza boxes littered the coffee table as we discussed the future. To Caroline. Van raised his soda can. Who proved that sometimes the crazy ones are the sanest of all? To family, I corrected, looking at each of them. The ones we choose. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Board meeting prep tomorrow, 8 a.m. Also, PR wants to discuss company rebranding. I typed back, I'll be there, with my team. Rosalind caught my eye. Ready to face tomorrow? Looking around at my newfound family, I felt stronger than ever. More than ready. It's time to rebuild. Not just the company, but everything. The city lights twinkled outside my window, and for the first time since the accident, I felt truly free. Natalie had tried to write my ending, but instead, she'd only managed to give me a new beginning. The boardroom felt different this morning. Maybe it was the fresh flowers June had arranged, or maybe it was simply because I was finally sitting in my rightful place at the head of the table. The shareholders' meeting will begin in 5 minutes, Rosalind announced, tablet in hand. Press is already gathering in the lobby. Are you ready for this? Stefan asked, adjusting his tie. It's going to be intense. Before I could answer, Daniel rushed in. You need to see this. Natalie's lawyer just released a statement. He handed me his phone. The statement claimed I had fabricated evidence, manipulated vulnerable hospital staff, and orchestrated a hostile takeover of the company. She's desperate, Stefan said. The evidence is solid. The boardroom began filling with shareholders and board members. Some avoided my gaze, while others nodded respectfully. These were the same people who'd believed Natalie's lies about my mental state. Let's begin. I stood, commanding the room's attention. I know many of you have questions about recent events. Questions? A senior shareholder interrupted. You disappeared for weeks, then returned with wild accusations about your sister. Our stock has dropped 15%. 20%, actually, I corrected, clicking to the first slide of my presentation. Which is exactly what Natalie planned. Look at these trading records. The screen showed suspicious stock movements in offshore accounts. She was shorting our own company's stock, I explained, betting on its failure while simultaneously orchestrating my removal. But that's not all. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The embezzlement, the murder attempt, the hospital conspiracy. With each revelation, the room grew more tense. This is the security footage from the garage where my brake lines were tampered with. I played the video. And here are the corresponding bank transfers from Natalie's shell company. My God, someone whispered. But today isn't about dwelling on betrayal, I continued. It's about moving forward. June? June stepped forward, presenting our new corporate ethics initiative. We're implementing transparent oversight measures, including an independent ethics board. And I'll be heading that initiative, Rosalind added, with direct reporting lines to prevent future abuse of power. The room buzzed with discussion. Daniel stood up. I moved to formally reinstate Caroline as COO and approve these new measures. Second, another board member quickly added. The vote was unanimous. As the meeting concluded, my phone buzzed. Detective Morris's message read, Natalie's talking. Dr. Matthews, too. They're both looking at serious time. The press conference that followed was a circus. Cameras flashed as I approached the podium outside Bell Industries headquarters. Ms. Bell, how does it feel to return to your position? What message do you have for your sister? Will the company recover? Bell Industries was built on trust, I began. Trust between partners, employees, and customers. My sister betrayed that trust, but she didn't destroy it. Today, we're not just rebuilding a company, we're reinforcing its foundation. Stefan stepped up beside me. Ms. Bell will now announce several key appointments to the company's new ethics and oversight board. I introduced June and Rosalind to the press, explaining their roles in uncovering the conspiracy. Van watched from the sidelines, giving me a thumbs up. Back in my office, my real office, I found a photo of my parents on the desk. They were smiling at the building's groundbreaking ceremony decades ago. They'd be proud, Daniel said from the doorway. Not just of saving the company, but of how you did it. With help, I replied. I couldn't have done this alone. Speaking of help, Stefan entered with a stack of papers. The DA wants to meet tomorrow about Natalie's plea deal. No deals, I said firmly. She needs to face the consequences. June brought in coffee and sat down. The hospital board called. They're cleaning house. 3 more administrators were involved in similar schemes with other patients. We should help them, I decided. Set up a foundation for patients who've been wrongfully committed. Rosalind smiled. Already working on it. Van's offered to be our first success story spokesperson. Looking around at my team, my family, I felt a surge of determination. Natalie had tried to destroy me using the company our parents built, but instead, she'd helped me make it stronger. All right. I picked up a marker and approached the whiteboard. Let's talk about tomorrow. We have a company to rebuild. As we planned late into the evening, the city lights came on outside my office window. Somewhere in a jail cell, Natalie was facing the darkness she'd created. But here, surrounded by trust and truth, I was finally stepping into the light. The courthouse steps were crowded as I made my way inside. Today was Natalie's sentencing, and the media circus had reached its peak. Ready? Stefan asked, holding the door. Inside, the courtroom filled quickly. June, Rosalind, and Van sat directly behind me. Daniel joined us moments later, sliding into the row. The board sends their support, he whispered, though they're glad to avoid the media attention. The bailiff called for order as Natalie was led in. She wore prison orange instead of her usual designer suits, but her head was held high. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away. All rise, the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Martinez presiding. The judge reviewed the charges: attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, embezzlement. Natalie had pleaded guilty to avoid a trial, hoping for leniency. Before I pass sentence, Judge Martinez said, would the victim like to make a statement? I stood, approaching the podium. The speech I'd prepared suddenly felt wrong. Instead, I spoke from the heart. Your Honor, my sister tried to kill me. She locked me away, tried to steal my sanity along with my company, and nearly succeeded. But this isn't just about me. I turned to face Natalie directly. While investigating her crimes, we discovered 7 other patients at Riverside Psychiatric who were wrongfully committed through similar schemes. 7 lives destroyed by greed and corruption. The company our parents built was meant to help people, not destroy them. Natalie's facade cracked slightly. I don't want vengeance, Your Honor. I want justice, not just for me, but for everyone she and Dr. Matthews victimized. And I want my sister to understand that real strength isn't about power or control. It's about doing what's right, even when it's hard. The judge nodded thoughtfully. Ms. Natalie Bell, please rise. Natalie stood, her hands shaking slightly. The court sentences you to 15 years in federal prison. Additionally, you are ordered to pay restitution to your victims and forfeit all claims to Bell Industries assets. As Natalie was led away, she paused near me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know it doesn't matter, but I am. You're right, I replied. It doesn't matter, but maybe someday it will. Outside, reporters clamored for statements. Stefan handled them while I slipped away with my team to the cafe where we'd first plotted my escape from Riverside. To justice, Van raised his coffee cup, and to found family. Speaking of family, June said, the foundation approved its first round of grants today. 5 former Riverside patients are getting legal aid to clear their records. Make it 10, I decided. Use my personal funds if needed. Rosalind checked her phone. The hospital reform bill we backed just passed the state legislature. Mandatory oversight of all involuntary commitments. And Bell Industries stock hit a new high, Daniel added. Turns out integrity is good for business. That reminds me. Stefan pulled out some papers. The board approved your proposal. Bell Industries is officially launching its mental health advocacy division. I signed the documents, then looked around the table. None of this would have happened without you all. You risked everything to help me when I had nothing. That's not true, Van grinned. You had a killer story and the stubbornness to prove it. Plus, June added, taking down corrupt executives is surprisingly fun. My phone buzzed. Detective Morris sending an update. Dr. Matthews had received 12 years and was cooperating in investigations of similar schemes at other hospitals. The system's changing, Rosalind noted. Slowly, but it's changing. Because we changed it, I said. Together. Back at the office, I found a letter on my desk. It was from my parents' old lawyer, with a note I'd never seen before. Dear Caroline, it read, if you're reading this, something has happened to challenge your control of the company. Your father and I always knew Natalie's ambition might overwhelm her judgment. But we also knew you had the strength to weather any storm. The company isn't just about profit, it's about people. Never forget that. Love, Mom. I pinned the note to my bulletin board, right next to the photo of my new family at the foundation's launch party. Below it hung the key card from Riverside, a reminder of where this journey began. Stefan appeared in my doorway. Emergency board meeting? No. I smiled. Family dinner. The board can wait until tomorrow. As we left the office, the setting sun painted the city gold. Somewhere, Natalie was beginning her sentence, facing the consequences of her choices. But here, surrounded by the family I'd found and the purpose I'd discovered, I was exactly where I needed to be. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just rebuilding, but creating something better. And most importantly, not alone. Never alone again.
The call came during my morning coffee ritual at Riverside Cafe, the same ritual Aunt Margaret had mocked countless times as wasting money better spent on a real career. My hands trembled as I listened to my cousin Camila's voice crack through the speaker. Mia, it's bad. The doctors say she needs specialized treatment and insurance won't cover most of it. I'm Mia, a graphic artist in a small town where creativity is often mistaken for laziness, especially by my Aunt Margaret. The irony of this call wasn't lost on me. Just last week, at my cousin's engagement party, Aunt Margaret had made sure everyone heard her opinions about my life choices. Look at her, sitting there with her little drawings, she'd announced to the room, wine glass swaying dangerously in her hand. June, I don't understand how you let her waste her potential like this. A proper job, that's what she needs. My mother had simply looked away, her silence more cutting than any words could be. Mia, are you still there? Camila's voice pulled me back to the present. Yeah, sorry. How much does she need? The number Camilla quoted made my coffee go cold in my throat. That was more than I made in 6 months. "We're having a family meeting tonight," Camilla continued. "Maybe if we all pitch in—" "I'll be there," I said, already knowing how it would go. The meeting was exactly as I'd expected. Chaos wrapped in forced politeness at my mother's house. Aunt Margaret sat in her usual armchair, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, but her tongue hadn't lost its edge. "Well, if some people had chosen more reliable professions," she said, eyeing me pointedly, "we might have more resources as a family." My friend Rose, who'd come for moral support, squeezed my hand under the table. She knew how much those barbs hurt, even after all these years. "Margaret," my mother finally spoke up, "this isn't helping." "No, what's not helping is having a niece who thinks doodling is a career," Margaret's voice rose. "Did you know she turned down that accounting position I arranged? And now look, I'm updating my will, and guess who won't be in it?" The room fell silent. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air." Outside, Rose followed me to the porch swing. "You okay?" "You know what's funny?" I said, watching my breath cloud in the cold air. "My latest commission just sold for $5,000, but in there, I'm still just the family disappointment." "Mia," Rose started, but my phone buzzed. A text from Micah, my artist friend. "Got that gallery showing you wanted. Call me." I should have felt excited, but all I could think about was Aunt Margaret's pale face and the stack of medical bills on the coffee table inside. "She's really sick, isn't she?" I asked Rose. "Stage 3. They caught it late because she was too proud to get checked earlier." Pride. That was Aunt Margaret's everything. The same pride that made her refuse to acknowledge my art in the local paper, or the mural I painted for the children's hospital. The door opened, and Camilla stepped out, her eyes red. "The lawyer's here with the will papers. She wants to make it official tonight." "Of course she does," I muttered. Back inside, Margaret's lawyer, Serena, was laying out documents. My aunt's hand shook as she signed, but her voice was steady as she announced, "I want it clear that my estate will be divided between Camilla and June. Mia has chosen her path, and it's not one I will support." I watched her sign away my existence on paper, and something shifted inside me. Not pain, I was used to that, but something else. A plan started forming, one that would either break me financially or prove something I'd been trying to show my aunt for years. As everyone filed out later, I overheard Margaret talking to my mother. "The treatments start next week. I don't know how we'll manage, but I won't accept charity. I have my dignity." I smiled to myself, pulling out my phone to check my bank balance. Dignity was about to meet its match in karma, and I was going to be the one dealing the cards. "Everything okay?" Rose asked, catching my expression. "Yeah," I said, watching Aunt Margaret being helped to her car. "I just need to make some calls tomorrow. About that inheritance she's so proud of. I think it's time to show her what her useless niece can really do." I didn't know then that my decision that night would set off a chain of events that would either heal our family or shatter it completely. But standing there, watching Margaret's car disappear into the darkness, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served with an anonymous check and a side of karmic justice. The next morning, I sat in my tiny home office, staring at my laptop screen. My savings account balance glared back at me, the result of 3 years of careful planning for my own design studio. My phone buzzed with a text from Rose. "Have you thought this through? It's a lot of money." I called her instead of texting back. "I've run the numbers. If I take on extra freelance work and dip into my studio fund, I can make it work." "Mia, that's your dream we're talking about. And for what? Someone who's never believed in you?" Before I could answer, another call came in. Camilla. "Hold on, Rose." "Mia?" Camilla's voice was thick with tears. "The hospital called. They need the first payment by Friday, or they'll have to postpone her treatment." My stomach clenched. How much? 20,000. Mom's trying to get a loan, but with her credit... She trailed off. "I'll call you back," I said, switching back to Rose. "Still there?" "You're going to do it, aren't you?" I pulled up my banking app. You should have seen her face last night, Rose. All that pride, and now she can't even afford to save her own life. And you think secretly paying for her treatment will what? Make her finally appreciate you? No, I said, starting the transfer process. But maybe it'll teach her something about judging people's worth. After hanging up, I walked to my local coffee shop where Micah was waiting. His eyes widened as I approached. You look like you haven't slept. Thanks for the compliment, I said, sliding into the booth. Tell me about the gallery showing. 3 months from now. Prime spot, great exposure, but... He studied my face. Something's wrong. I stirred my coffee absently. I might have to pass. Pass? Mia, this is your big break. The kind of opportunity that... I know. Several heads turned our way and I lowered my voice. I know, but something came up. Does this have something to do with your aunt? Camila told me about the will. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a notification. The transfer had gone through. $20,000, sent anonymously through my lawyer to the hospital's billing department. Mia? Micah waved his hand in front of my face. You're scaring me. I'm fine. Just taking care of something important. That evening, I was working on a commission when Camilla called again. It's crazy, she said. Someone paid for Aunt Margaret's first round of treatment. Anonymous donation. I forced my voice to stay neutral. Really? That's unexpected? She's furious. Keeps saying she doesn't want charity. Mom's trying to convince her to accept it, but you know how she is. I did know. I also knew exactly what would happen next. Sure enough, the family meeting that night was explosive. I arrived to find Aunt Margaret holding court in her usual spot, face flushed with anger. It's humiliating, she declared. Some stranger thinking they can just... Margaret, my mother interrupted. This is a blessing. Why can't you just accept it? Because I have my pride, unlike some people who probably live off handouts. Her eyes found me. Speaking of which, Mia, how's the art business? I met her gaze steadily. Just finished a corporate project, but you probably wouldn't be interested. See? She turned to my mother. That attitude, that's why she's not in the will. No respect for real work. Rose, who'd arrived late, caught my eye from across the room. She could probably see the irony written all over my face. Later, as I helped clean up, Camilla cornered me in the kitchen. There's something different about you tonight. Usually, Aunt Margaret's comments get to you more. I shrugged, loading dishes into the dishwasher. Maybe I'm growing up. Or maybe you know something about that mysterious donation. I dropped a fork, the clatter loud in the sudden silence. What makes you say that? Just... You seem calm. Too calm. Before she could press further, Rose appeared in the doorway. Mia, your phone's been buzzing. It's Micah about the gallery. I escaped to the porch, grateful for the rescue. But as I listened to Micah detail the opportunity I was about to give up, I heard Aunt Margaret's voice drift through the open window. I've hired someone, she was saying. A private investigator. I want to know who's behind this charity. No one makes a fool of Margaret Ross. I ended the call with Micah and leaned against the porch railing, watching the stars. My bank account was significantly lighter, my dream studio was slipping away, and now my aunt was actively hunting for my identity. But somehow, watching her rage against anonymous kindness felt like its own kind of victory. Rose joined me outside. You know this is going to get complicated, right? I nodded, thinking of the next payment I'd need to make in 2 weeks. Sometimes the most expensive revenge is the one that looks like kindness. 2 weeks into my secret mission, I found myself pulling double shifts at my desk, coffee cups multiplying around my workspace like mushrooms. A new corporate client had demanded 3 complete revisions of their logo, each paying less than the last. But I needed every penny. My phone lit up with a message from Micah. Coffee? You've been MIA for days. I met him at our usual spot, trying not to wince at the $5 I spent on a latte, money that should have gone to Aunt Margaret's next treatment payment. You look terrible, he said, sliding into the seat across from me, charming as always. I'm serious. You're working yourself to death, and you still haven't given me a straight answer about the gallery showing. I stared into my coffee. I can't commit right now. The entry fee alone. Since when do you worry about money? Your business was doing great. Before I could answer, Camila walked in. She spotted us and made her way over, uninvited. Guess what? She said, pulling up a chair. The anonymous donor struck again. Another payment cleared yesterday. My hands tightened around my cup. How's Aunt Margaret taking it? Oh, she's livid. That investigator she hired? He's been asking questions all over town. But get this, the money's being routed through some complicated trust fund setup. He can't trace it. I tried to hide my smile. My lawyer had earned her fee with that arrangement. Speaking of money, Camila continued, Mom says you turned down 3 family dinner invitations this week. Are you avoiding us? Just busy with work, I said, pulling out my phone as another client email arrived. Speaking of which... Always running away, she muttered. Just like Aunt Margaret says. I froze halfway out of my seat. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just... She might have a point about responsibility. While someone's helping us with the medical bills, the rest of us are still trying to support her. Where are you in all this? Micah jumped in before I could respond. Hey, Mia's working harder than anyone I know? Right, on her little drawings. I left without answering, my coffee barely touched. Outside, Micah caught up with me. Don't let them get to you, he said. They don't understand what you do. It's fine. I need to get back to work anyway. That evening, I was knee-deep in design work when Rose called. Emergency family meeting at your mom's. Aunt Margaret's investigator found something. My heart stopped. What kind of something? Don't know, but she sounds excited. You coming? I arrived to find everyone already gathered. Aunt Margaret sat in her usual chair, looking smug despite her illness-worn features. A man in a crisp suit stood beside her. The investigator, I assumed. Ah, Mia, Aunt Margaret said. So nice of you to grace us with your presence. Mr. Ortiz here has some interesting information about our mysterious benefactor. The investigator cleared his throat. The funds are coming from a local source, someone with considerable savings, recently depleted. We've narrowed it down to... My phone rang, cutting him off. The client with the logo revisions. I stepped into the kitchen to take the call. What do you mean you're going with another designer? I fought to keep my voice down. We had a contract. When I returned to the living room, everyone was staring at me. Problem? Aunt Margaret asked sweetly. Just work stuff. What did I miss? Mr. Ortiz was explaining how our donor seems to be struggling financially themselves, taking on extra work, making suspicious transfers. Her eyes narrowed. Rather like someone else we know. I met her gaze steadily. Sounds like they're working hard, unlike some people who just judge others' careers. The room went silent. Even the investigator looked uncomfortable. How dare you? Aunt Margaret started to rise, but weakness forced her back down. After everything what? After years of belittling me? After cutting me out of your will? Yeah, I dare. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard my mother call my name, but I kept walking. Outside, I leaned against my car, breathing hard. My phone buzzed, another client cancellation. At this rate, I'd have to dip even deeper into my studio fund for the next payment. Rose followed me out. That was quite a show. Did you see her face? So desperate to catch someone helping her that she can't even see what's right in front of her. Mia. Rose hesitated. The investigator might be closer than you think. Maybe it's time to stop. I shook my head, watching through the window as Aunt Margaret gesticulated angrily at the investigator. No, she needs to learn. Besides, I'm in too deep now. And your studio? Your dreams? I pulled out my phone, looking at my dwindling bank balance. Sometimes revenge costs more than money. As if on cue, a text from Camila appeared. The investigator's requesting bank records next. Aunt Margaret's determined to expose whoever it is. I smiled grimly. Let her try, I whispered, starting my car. Let her try. The investigator, Hamza, cornered me outside my favorite coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. I'd just finished my 3rd consecutive all-nighter, trying to make up for lost clients with new commissions. Ms. Mia, he said, appearing beside me as I fumbled for my keys. Do you have a moment? I studied his carefully neutral expression. Depends. Are you here as Aunt Margaret's bloodhound or as a paying client? I find it interesting, he continued, as if I hadn't spoken, that your aunt's medical bills are being paid by someone whose financial patterns mirror yours exactly. Really? Maybe they're just another hardworking person being judged by people who don't understand their choices. Or maybe they're draining their life savings for someone who doesn't appreciate it. I felt the color drain from my face. Before I could respond, Micah's voice cut through the tension. Mia, there you are. He jogged up, placing himself between me and Hamza. We're late for that meeting. Hamza handed me his card. When you're ready to talk, call me. Inside my car, Micah turned to me. Want to tell me what's going on? And don't say nothing. You look like you've seen a ghost. I need coffee, I muttered, starting the engine. At a different cafe across town, I finally told him everything. The payments, the depleted savings, the gallery showing I'd had to pass up. Are you insane? He exploded, causing several heads to turn. That's your entire studio fund. Lower your voice, I hissed. No, I won't. Do you know how long you've worked for that dream? And you're throwing it away on someone who... Who what? Who's dying? Who needs help? Who never gave a damn about your dreams? My phone buzzed. Camila again. Aunt Margaret's in the hospital. Bad reaction to the treatment. She's asking for everyone. At the hospital, I found my mother in the waiting room, looking exhausted. She's stabilized, she said before I could ask. But she's different. Scared, I think. Inside the room, Aunt Margaret looked small against the white sheets, her eyes fixed on me as I entered. Come to see the show? Her voice was weak, but still carried that familiar edge. Your cousin tells me you've been too busy with work to visit lately. Finally finding a real job? Margaret, my mother warned. No, let her speak, I said, moving closer to the bed. Tell me, Aunt Margaret, what exactly is a real job to you? One that makes money? Because I make plenty. One that helps people? My designs are in children's hospitals. One that doesn't rely on handouts, she snapped, then started coughing. I handed her a water cup, my hand shaking. Like anonymous donations? Her eyes narrowed. Mr. Ortiz is close to finding out who's behind those. Then we'll see who's really... The monitor beside her bed started beeping rapidly. A nurse rushed in, ushering us out. In the hallway, I ran into Hamza again. Persistent, aren't you? I said. I'm good at my job, just like you're good at yours. He paused. The next payment is due tomorrow. Is that a question? An observation, along with the fact that you've been taking on small jobs at half your usual rate, desperate for quick cash, perhaps. Before I could respond, Rose appeared, pulling me aside. Your mother's looking for you. Also, Micah called. Said something about a solution for the studio fund? I shook my head. Tell him to drop it. Mia, you can't keep doing this. Look at yourself. When's the last time you slept? I'm fine. No, you're not. And neither is your business. Camila mentioned you lost the Thompson account. I leaned against the wall, suddenly dizzy. They wanted someone more... corporate. You mean someone who wasn't working through the night on rush jobs to make quick cash? The hospital lights seemed too bright, the corridor too narrow. I should check on Aunt Margaret. She's sleeping, my mother said, joining us. The nurse gave her something. But Mia, honey, you look terrible. When's the last time you ate? I waved off her concern, but as I turned to leave, the corridor tilted. Rose caught my arm. That's it, she said. I'm taking you home. In my apartment, I finally checked my bank balance. The next payment would leave me with barely enough for rent. My phone lit up with a text from Hamza. Your aunt's determination to find her benefactor is affecting her health. Perhaps it's time to end this game. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. On my desk, the gallery invitation sat unopened, mocking me with its promises of the future I was sacrificing. Another text arrived, this time from Micah. Found an investor for your studio. Real opportunity. Don't throw away your dreams for someone else's pride. I looked at my reflection in the window. Pale, exhausted, running on coffee and determination. Maybe they were right. Maybe it was time to stop. Then my phone rang again. Camila's number. Mia? She's asking for you, and she's got that investigator with her. I found Aunt Margaret sitting up in her hospital bed, looking more alert than she had in days. Hamza stood by the window, his expression unreadable. Camila hovered near the door, wringing her hands. "Close the door," Aunt Margaret commanded. I stepped inside, letting it click shut behind me. "You wanted to see me?" "Mr. Ortiz has been sharing some fascinating information." She gestured to a chair. "Sit." "I prefer to stand." "Always defiant," she muttered. "Mr. Ortiz, please tell my niece what you've discovered." Hamza cleared his throat. "The anonymous donations are coming from someone who's recently liquidated several investments. Someone who's been taking on numerous small design projects at reduced rates. Someone who—" "If you have something to say," I interrupted, "say it directly." Aunt Margaret's monitor beeped steadily in the silence that followed. Finally, she spoke. "Are you behind these donations? Would it matter if I was?" "Answer the question. Like you answered my calls when I won that national design competition, or when I landed my first major client." My voice shook. "Or maybe like you answered when I begged you to look at my portfolio before deciding I was worthless?" Camilla gasped softly from her corner. Aunt Margaret's face flushed. "So it is you," she said. "You're the one making me look like a charity case." The door opened and Rose burst in. "Mia, don't—" "No," I cut her off. "Let's have this out." I turned back to Aunt Margaret. "You want to know the truth?" "Yes, I'm the one paying your medical bills. I'm the one working myself to exhaustion, taking every job I can find. I'm the one who gave up my dream of opening my own studio so you could have the best treatment available." The monitor's beeping increased. Hamza stepped forward, concerned. "Why?" Aunt Margaret whispered. "To humiliate me? Because despite everything, you're family. And because maybe, just maybe, it would show you that the niece you dismissed as worthless could do something meaningful." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Is everything okay in here? Her heart rate is elevated." "We're fine," Aunt Margaret snapped. "Leave us." The nurse hesitated, then withdrew. Camila took her place by the door, looking ready to call for help if needed. "So," Aunt Margaret said, her voice dangerously quiet, "you thought you'd teach me a lesson? Play God with my life?" "No, Do you know what this means?" she continued. "Every treatment, every moment of hope, was built on lies, on your need to prove something." "That's not fair," Rose interjected. "Mia has sacrificed everything to help you." "Help me?" Aunt Margaret laughed bitterly. "She's helped herself to a grand gesture, nothing more. Well, I won't accept another penny. I'd rather die with dignity than live on her charity." The room spun slightly. I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. "Margaret," Hamza spoke up, "perhaps we should consider—" "Consider what? That my worthless niece has been playing puppet master? That she's probably laughing at me behind my back?" "I never laughed," I said quietly. "I cried. Every time I had to turn down an opportunity. Every time I stayed up all night working on cheap projects to make the payments. Every time I heard you mock my career while I was literally keeping you alive." Silence fell. Even the monitor seemed quieter. "Get out," Aunt Margaret finally said. "All of you, except Mr. Ortiz." In the hallway, Camila caught my arm. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have kept it secret?" She looked away. "I don't know." My phone buzzed. Micah again. "Investor meeting tomorrow. Last chance. Don't throw this away." Rose read the message over my shoulder. "Take it. You've done enough." "Have I?" I watched through the window as Aunt Margaret gestured angrily at Hamza. "Look at her. Still so angry, so sure she's right." "That's her problem, not yours," Rose said. "You've proved your point." "Have I?" I repeated. "Because it feels like I've just proved hers, that I'm exactly what she always said, someone who makes the wrong choices." Camila touched my shoulder. "She's asking for Mom, and she's telling Hamza to stop the investigation." "Why?" "She says there's no point now. The damage is done." I slumped against the wall, exhaustion finally hitting me full force. My phone buzzed with another message, this time from my bank. Account alert, balance below minimum. Rose took my phone gently. Come on, you need rest. As they led me away, I heard Aunt Margaret's voice through the door, talking to my mother who had just arrived. Did you know? Did you know your daughter was destroying herself to save me? I didn't stay to hear the answer. Sometimes I was learning, revenge doesn't taste like victory at all. Sometimes it just tastes like tears and cold coffee and dreams turning to dust. 3 days after the revelation, I sat across from Micah and his investor contact in a sleek downtown cafe. My hands wrapped around a coffee cup I couldn't afford, trying to hide their trembling. The space is perfect, Micah was saying. Corner location, great light, reasonable rent. The investor, a woman named Diana, nodded. And your portfolio is impressive. But I have concerns about your recent work history. These quick, low-budget projects. My phone lit up with Camila's name. I declined the call. Those were temporary, I started to explain, but my phone buzzed again. This time, a text. She's asking for you. It's important. I'm sorry, I said, standing. Family emergency. Diana's sympathetic smile didn't quite hide her disappointment. Perhaps we should reschedule when things are more settled. Outside, Micah caught up with me. That was your chance, Mia. Your last chance. I know. I fumbled with my car keys. But she's asking for me. She's always asking for something. When does anyone ask what you need? I didn't answer, just drove to the hospital in silence. Outside Aunt Margaret's room, I found my mother and Camila waiting. She's with her lawyer, my mother said. Serena's been here for an hour. Through the window, I could see Aunt Margaret signing papers, her hand shaking but determined. Finally, the door opened. Serena emerged, nodding to me. She's ready to see you. Inside, Aunt Margaret looked different. The anger that had fueled her for days seemed to have drained away, leaving something else in its place. Sit, she said, patting the bed beside her. When I hesitated, she added, please. I perched on the edge of the mattress. If this is about the payments, This is about the will. She held up a hand when I tried to interrupt. No, let me finish. Hamza showed me everything. The hours you've been working, the opportunities you've turned down, the studio fund you emptied. I didn't do it for the will. I know, that's what makes it worse. She picked at her blanket. You did it because you're better than me, better than I ever gave you credit for. The door opened and Rose slipped in, followed by Micah. They must have seen my car in the parking lot. I spoke with Diana, Micah said. She might reconsider if... Who's Diana? Aunt Margaret asked. No one, I said quickly, but Micah pressed on. An investor. She was going to fund Mia's studio, the dream you called worthless. Micah, don't, I pleaded. No, he's right, Aunt Margaret said. I should hear this. Tell me about the studio. So I did. The words poured out. The business plan I'd spent years developing, the clients I'd lined up, the space I'd found. With each detail, her expression grew more pained. And you gave all this up? For me? The treatments were more important. She reached for the papers Serena had left. I've changed my will again, but more importantly, I've made some arrangements. Serena helped me access some investments I'd forgotten about. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm paying you back. Every penny you spent on my treatments, plus enough to lease that studio space for a year. The room swam before my eyes. Rose grabbed my arm to steady me. I don't want your money, I said. Too bad. Consider it my first investment in your business. She smiled weakly. Unless you think I'm not qualified to judge a real career? A laugh bubbled up, half sob. Using my own words against me? Learning from the best. She patted my hand. I was wrong about you, Mia. Wrong about everything. Micah stepped forward. I'll call Diana. Wait, I said. Aunt Margaret, are you sure? The treatments? Are working. Thanks to you, I got them in time. Now it's your turn. She looked around the room, at Rose and Micah hovering protectively, at my mother and Camila who had quietly entered. I've spent years tearing you down. Let me help build something for once. My phone buzzed. Diana's number. Aunt Margaret nodded at it. Answer. Put it on speaker. With shaking hands, I did. Diana's voice filled the room. Mia, I've been thinking about your proposal. So have I, Aunt Margaret cut in smoothly. And I'd like to discuss co-investing in my niece's studio. I believe you'll find her recent work history shows exactly the kind of dedication and character you're looking for. I stared at her as she handled the call with the same authority she'd always wielded, but this time using it to build me up instead of tear me down. After the call ended, she handed me the will papers. Read them later. For now, don't you have a studio to plan? I don't know what to say. Say you'll prove me right this time instead of proving me wrong. She squeezed my hand. And Mia, thank you. Not for the money, but for showing me what real strength looks like. For the first time in months, I felt myself smile. Really smile. Sometimes it turns out revenge doesn't end in victory or defeat. Sometimes it ends in something that looks surprisingly like healing. 1 month later, I stood in an empty storefront, sunlight streaming through the large windows. Paint samples covered one wall, and architectural plans lay spread across a folding table. The exposed brick stays, Aunt Margaret declared from her wheelchair. She'd insisted on coming to the space inspection, despite having just finished another round of treatment. I thought you said I had creative control, I teased. Creative, yes. Foolish, no. She wheeled herself closer to the windows. These need cleaning, but the light is perfect for your work. The door chimed as Micah entered, carrying coffee for everyone. Diana just called. The paperwork's ready to sign tomorrow. Speaking of paperwork, Aunt Margaret said, pulling an envelope from her bag. There's something we need to discuss. I took the envelope, recognizing Serena's law firm logo. More changes to the will? No, something else. She nodded toward the papers. Read it. Inside was a partnership agreement. My hands started shaking as I read the terms. You want to be a formal partner in the studio? Silent partner, she corrected. With one condition. Here we go, I muttered, but I was smiling. The studio needs a name. I propose Legacy Design Studios. Micah nearly choked on his coffee. That's actually perfect. Because you're leaving me your legacy? I asked. Because you taught me what legacy really means. She wheeled closer. It's not about money or status, it's about impact, the mark we leave on others' lives. The door chimed again. Rose entered with Camila and my mother carrying lunch. How's it going? Rose asked, setting down the bags. Aunt Margaret's trying to make me cry again, I said, waving the partnership agreement. Good tears this time, I hope, my mother said, starting to unpack the food. The best kind. I turned back to Aunt Margaret. But are you sure about this? Partnership is a big commitment. So was paying for my treatment. She took a sandwich from Camila. Besides, someone needs to keep you from painting everything in those awful modern colors. I thought you didn't know anything about art, I challenged. I'm learning, speaking of which. She pulled out her phone, showing me a local news article. Isn't this your mural they're featuring at the children's hospital? The others gathered around to look. It was the piece I'd done last year, the one she'd dismissed as doodling. They want to commission more, I admitted. I've been meaning to tell you. Tell me what? They want a piece for the oncology ward. I thought, maybe you could help me design it? The room went quiet. Aunt Margaret's eyes glistened. I'd like that, she said softly. Camila cleared her throat. Before everyone gets too emotional, there's something else. She handed me another envelope. From Hamza. The investigator? What does he want now? Inside was a simple note. Sometimes the best investigations reveal more than just facts. They reveal truth. Thank you for teaching me that. He's recommended me to 3 corporate clients, I explained to the questioning looks. Said they needed someone who understands the value of investment in people. Smart man, Aunt Margaret commented. Now about these color schemes. Oh no, Rose laughed. Here we go again. We spent the next hour arguing good-naturedly about design choices, sharing lunch, and planning the future. My mother watched it all with tears in her eyes. What? I asked her during a quiet moment. I just never thought I'd see this, She gestured between me and Aunt Margaret. You two, building something together. Neither did I, Aunt Margaret admitted. But sometimes our biggest mistakes lead to our best opportunities. She wheeled over to the windows again, looking out at the street. You know, I spent years thinking I knew what success looked like. I was wrong. Success isn't in the money or the status. It's in the legacy, I suggested. It's in the love, she corrected. Even when that love comes disguised as anonymous donations and midnight design work. Micah raised his coffee cup. To Legacy Design Studios? To family, Aunt Margaret countered. The kind you're born with and the kind you build. As everyone echoed the toast, I looked around the sun-filled space that would soon become my studio. Our studio. At Rose and Micah, who'd stood by me through everything. At Camila, who was finally seeing me as an equal. At my mother, who was learning to stand up for me. And at Aunt Margaret, who'd turned from my biggest critic to my strongest advocate. One more thing, Aunt Margaret said, pulling out another paper. The hospital board meeting is next week. They want to discuss the oncology ward mural. I took the liberty of scheduling us both to present the concept. Us both? Unless you don't want your silent partner's input? I hugged her, careful of the IV bruises on her arms. I think we're way past silent. She hugged me back, whispering, Thank you for not giving up on me. Sometimes, I realized, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes, it's the courage to keep loving, keep giving, keep believing in someone until they learn to believe in you, too. The morning of Legacy Design Studios' opening, I found Aunt Margaret already waiting outside, her wheelchair parked in front of the newly installed sign. Her hair was growing back, thin but determined, like spring grass after a hard winter. You're early, I said, unlocking the door. Couldn't sleep. Too busy thinking about color schemes. Inside, everything was ready. My designs lined the walls, including prints of the children's hospital murals. The oncology ward piece held center stage, a collaboration between aunt and niece that had brought tears to the hospital board's eyes. Remember when you said I was wasting my potential? I asked, adjusting a frame. I remember being an idiot. She wheeled over to the reception desk, running her hand along the smooth wood. But look what came from that idiocy. The bell chimed as Diana entered. Everything ready for the clients? First meetings start in an hour, I confirmed. Aunt Margaret insisted on being here for all of them. Quality control, Aunt Margaret said primly. Diana smiled. From what I've seen of your joint work, that's not a bad thing. More people started arriving. Rose and Micah with coffee and pastries. Camila with an armful of fresh flowers. My mother carrying a package wrapped in silver paper. What's this? I asked as she handed it to me. Open it. Inside was a framed newspaper article about the studio opening, focusing on the unique partnership between aunt and niece. The headline read, Local Artist and Business Icon Unite, a story of redemption and innovation. Turn it over, Aunt Margaret instructed. On the back was a handwritten note. To my niece, who taught me that true art isn't just what we create on canvas, but what we build in each other's hearts. Love, Aunt Margaret. Don't you dare cry, she warned. Your first clients will be here soon. The door chimed again. Hamza entered, followed by Serena. Just wanted to wish you luck, he said. Though from what I've investigated about your upcoming projects, you won't need it. Still keeping tabs on us? I teased. Professional habit, he smiled. Plus, someone needs to document this remarkable transformation. Serena stepped forward with a folder. Speaking of documentation, the final partnership papers need signing. As Aunt Margaret and I signed, I noticed her hands were steady, stronger than they'd been in months. The doctors say the treatments are working better than expected, she said, catching my look. Turns out spite is a powerful motivator for recovery. I have to stick around to make sure you don't paint everything in neon colors. The first clients began arriving, a mix of corporate executives and nonprofit directors, all drawn by the studio's unique story and distinctive style. I watched as Aunt Margaret charmed them effortlessly, her business acumen complementing my creative presentations perfectly. During a brief break, Rose pulled me aside. Look at her. I've never seen her so alive. Me neither. It's like she's finally found her purpose. Or maybe, Micah joined us, you both have. The day flew by in a blur of meetings, celebrations, and possibilities. As evening approached, most of the guests had left, leaving just family and close friends. I have something to show you, I told Aunt Margaret, leading her to a covered wall in the back office. If it's another modern art piece, just look. I pulled away the cloth, revealing a gallery wall of family photos, old and new, spanning decades. In the center was a recent picture of Aunt Margaret and me in the hospital, heads bent together over mural sketches, both laughing at something now forgotten. "When did you take that?" she asked softly. "Camila did. Said she wanted to capture the moment we both finally saw each other clearly." Aunt Margaret reached out, touching the photo. "You know, I spent my whole life thinking I needed to leave a legacy of wealth and status. I never imagined my true legacy would come from the person I tried hardest to change. Funny how life works out," I said. "Funny how love works out," she corrected, even when it's hidden behind anonymous donations and stubborn pride. The setting sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across our new beginning. Outside, the sign for Legacy Design Studios caught the light, glowing like a beacon. "Ready to head home?" I asked. "Not yet." She wheeled back to the main space, where our first commissioned piece hung, a collaborative design that merged her business sensibility with my artistic vision. "I want to stay a bit longer, to remember this moment." I understood. This wasn't just a studio opening. It was the opening of a new chapter for both of us. One where criticism had transformed into collaboration, where hurt had healed into understanding, and where revenge had somehow blossomed into redemption. "You know what the best revenge really is?" Aunt Margaret asked, as if reading my thoughts. "What's that?" "Living well enough to turn your enemies into family, and your family into something even stronger." I squeezed her shoulder gently. "Welcome to the family business, Aunt Margaret." "Welcome home, Mia," she replied. "Welcome home."
The ivory silk pooled at my feet like spilled milk, its delicate beading scattered across the floor like broken dreams. My wedding dress, the one I'd spent months saving for, lay ruined before me, covered in what looked like red wine stains and God knows what else. My hands trembled as I lifted it from the storage box, the fabric heavy with the weight of betrayal. I'm Delaney, and this was supposed to be the happiest time of my life. In 3 weeks, I was going to marry Jordan, the most supportive man I'd ever met. But standing there in my childhood bedroom, staring at my destroyed dress, I felt the familiar ache of being the responsible daughter, the one who always got pushed aside. "Oh my God, what happened?" Serenity gasped from the doorway. My best friend rushed to my side, her eyes wide with horror. "Emma," I whispered, my voice cracking. "This has Emma written all over it." Right on cue, my younger sister's laughter echoed up the stairs. She was home from college for the weekend, probably sharing stories with Mom about her latest adventures. The golden child, as always. "Emma," I shouted, my voice carrying through the house. The laughter stopped. Footsteps thundered up the stairs, and Emma appeared in the doorway, Mom right behind her. My sister's face went pale when she saw what I was holding. "I can explain," Emma started, holding up her hands. "Explain, explain." I thrust the dress toward her. "How do you explain this?" Mom stepped between us, her face already set in that placating expression I knew too well. "Delaney, honey, let's not overreact." "Overreact?" I laughed, the sound bitter even to my own ears. "My wedding dress is ruined, Mom. The dress I spent $6,000 on." Emma's voice came out small. "I just wanted to try it on. There was this party, and I thought—" "You thought what? That you could just take my wedding dress to a college party?" The pieces clicked together, the wine stains, the torn beading, the smell of cigarette smoke clinging to the fabric. "I'll pay for it," Emma said quickly. "I promise, Del. I'll get you a new one." "With what money?" I shot back. "Your student loans? Or were you planning to get Mom to pay for it like everything else?" "That's enough," Mom cut in, her tone sharp. "Emma made a mistake, but we can fix this. I'll help pay for a new dress." I shook my head, tears burning in my eyes. That's not the point, Mom. It's never been the point. Serenity placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. She'd witnessed this dynamic for years. Emma messing up, Mom swooping in to fix it, and me, always me, expected to understand, to forgive, to be the bigger person. Ever since Dad died, I continued, my voice shaking, it's been like this. Emma gets whatever she wants, does whatever she wants, and I'm just supposed to smile and take it. That's not fair, Mom protested. Your sister's been through a lot. And I haven't, I interrupted. I was 16 when Dad died too, Mom. 16, but instead of getting comfort, I got responsibility. Take care of your sister, Delaney. Be understanding, Delaney. Don't make waves, Delaney. Emma's face crumpled. I didn't mean to ruin it, I swear. I just wanted to feel special for one night. Special? I laughed again, the sound hollow. You've been special your entire life, Emma. When's the last time anyone in this family made me feel special? The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face had gone pale, and Emma looked like she might cry. Good. Let them feel uncomfortable for once. I have to call Jordan, I said, gathering up the ruined dress. And then, I need to figure out how I'm going to find another dress in 3 weeks. Delaney, Mom started, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't. Serenity followed me out of the room, leaving Mom and Emma standing there. As we descended the stairs, I heard Emma's muffled sobs and Mom's soft murmurs of comfort. Of course, even now, Emma was the one being consoled. In the kitchen, I collapsed onto a chair, the dress a sad heap in my lap. Serenity started making coffee without asking. She knew me too well. You know what the worst part is, I said, fingering a loose beading. I'm not even surprised. Deep down, I knew something like this would happen. Something always does when it comes to Emma. Serenity set a steaming mug in front of me. Maybe it's time to stop letting them get away with it. I looked up at her, surprised by the steel in her voice. I'm serious, Del. You're getting married, starting your own family. Maybe it's time to show them exactly what it feels like when karma comes calling. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, considering her words. For the first time since finding the dress, I felt something other than despair, something that felt dangerously like purpose. Maybe you're right, I said softly. Maybe it's finally time. Your sister's graduation is next weekend, Mum announced over breakfast, sliding a glossy invitation across the table. I expect you'll be there. I stared at the gold-embossed card, my coffee turning bitter in my mouth. 1 week had passed since the wedding dress incident, and I'd spent every night scrolling through bridal boutiques, trying to find a replacement I could afford. I'm busy, I said, pushing the invitation back. Wedding stuff. Mom's lips tightened. Delaney, this is important. Emma's graduating summa cum laude. Of course she is. I stabbed at my eggs. And I'm sure you'll throw her an amazing party with the money you saved by not helping with my dress. That's not fair, Mom protested. I offered to help pay. After Emma ruined it, I slammed my fork down. You know what? I actually have an idea for her graduation gift. Maybe I'll wear my ruined wedding dress to her ceremony. You know, since she liked it so much. Mom's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Wouldn't I? I stood up, gathering my things. It's what she wanted, right? To feel special? Del? Jordan's voice came from the doorway. My fiancé stood there, looking concerned. I hadn't heard him come in. Perfect timing, I said, grabbing my bag. Let's go. Outside, Jordan caught my arm. Hey, what was that about? Nothing. I yanked open his car door. Just my mother being herself. He slid into the driver's seat, studying me. You're really thinking about wearing the ruined dress to Emma's graduation? Maybe. I crossed my arms. Would it be so wrong? Let everyone see what she did. Del, Jordan sighed. I know you're hurt, but... My phone buzzed. Emma's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. She's called 6 times since yesterday, Jordan noted, and I'll ignore 600 more. I stared out the window. You didn't see Mum's face when it happened, Jordan. She was more worried about Emma feeling bad than about what Emma actually did. Another buzz. This time a text from Emma. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make it right. I typed back, anything? How about giving back all the attention Mom gave you instead of me after Dad died? The response was immediate. That's not fair. I never asked for that. But you never stopped it either, I sent back, then turned my phone off. Jordan pulled into the bridal boutique's parking lot. You sure about this? About finding a new dress? Don't have much choice. No, about letting this anger consume you. He turned to face me. I've never seen you like this, Del. I met his eyes. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been too nice for too long. Inside the boutique, Serenity was waiting. She hugged me tight. Found some options already. Wait till you see them. As I tried on dresses, my mind kept wandering to Emma's graduation. The image of me showing up in the stained dress, making a scene. It was tempting. So tempting. What about this one? Serenity held up a sleek, modern gown. It's beautiful, I admitted. But it's not. Not the one you spent months saving for, she finished. My phone buzzed again. Jordan had turned it back on. This time it was Mom. Emma's crying in her room. Is this really how you want things to be? I showed Serenity the message. See? Emma cries and I'm the bad guy. Again. So do something about it, Serenity said, her voice low. But do it smart. The graduation stunt? That's not you. You want revenge? Make it count. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The wedding, your speech. Tell everyone exactly what it's been like. Let them all see the truth. I sat down heavily in my wedding dress, the new one we'd just found. It was beautiful, but it felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. I can't do that, I whispered. It would destroy Mom. Like she destroyed your childhood, Serenity countered. Like Emma destroyed your dress. My phone buzzed again. Emma had sent a photo, her and me at Dad's funeral, holding hands. The message read, "Remember when we were actually sisters?" I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't know what to do anymore. Serenity sat beside me. Yes, you do. You're just scared to do it. She was right. The thought had been there since the dress incident, growing stronger with each dismissed feeling, each ignored call, each manipulative text from Mum. I picked up my phone and typed, "Emma, you want to make things right? Then it's time for some truth. Meet me tomorrow, alone." The response came quickly. Where? Dad's grave, noon. No Mom. I looked up at Serenity, my heart pounding. Either this fixes everything, or it breaks it all apart, she finished. But at least it'll be honest. I nodded, standing up in my new dress. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. But maybe that was the point. Maybe it was time to become someone new. Someone who wouldn't stay quiet anymore. Dad's headstone cast a long shadow in the midday sun. I arrived early, my hands shaking as I placed fresh flowers beside his name. The cemetery was quiet, except for distant traffic and birds calling overhead. I thought I'd find you here already. Emma's voice made me jump. She looked smaller somehow, wearing Dad's old college sweatshirt, the one she'd claimed after he died. You're wearing his shirt, I said flatly. So are you. She gestured to the faded baseball cap I was wearing, Dad's favorite Red Sox cap. We stood in awkward silence until Emma spoke again. Mom doesn't know I'm here. Good. I sat down on the grass, patting the spot next to me. Remember when we used to come here together? Before you got too busy with your new friends? Emma sank down beside me. That's not fair. Life's not fair. I plucked at the grass. Like when Dad died and Mom decided you needed her more than I did. I never asked. I know you didn't ask for it, I cut her off. But you took it, all of it. The attention, the money, the endless second chances. Emma's voice cracked. I was falling apart, Del. You seemed so strong. I had to be. The words exploded out of me. Someone had to keep it together. Someone had to make sure the bills got paid while Mum was focused on your therapy, your college applications, your everything. I didn't know, Emma whispered. Remember my high school graduation? I asked. Mum left early because you had a panic attack about starting college in the fall. Emma's face crumpled. I remember. Or my college acceptance letter. Mum barely looked at it because you'd just broken up with your first boyfriend. Stop, Emma pleaded. Or how about last Christmas, when Mum gave you Dad's watch, the one he promised to me, because you needed something to remember him by? Tears were streaming down Emma's face now. I'll give it back. I'll give it all back. You can't. I turned to face her fully. That's the point, Emma. You can't give back the years Mum spent treating me like an afterthought. You can't give back the moments I needed my mother, and she was too busy with you. So what do you want from me? Emma asked, wiping her eyes. I want you to understand what you're really apologizing for. It's not just about the dress. Then tell me, she said. Help me understand. I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. Look at these. I started scrolling through pictures. Emma's high school graduation, with Mom beaming. Emma's college move-in day, with Mom crying proud tears. Emma's art show, with Mom proudly displaying the pieces. Now look for pictures of Mum at my events, I said quietly. Emma scrolled, her face growing more troubled. There aren't many, because she wasn't there. Not really. She was always leaving early or showing up late because of something you needed. Del, Emma's voice was barely audible. I never saw it. I never realized. No, you didn't. And now you've ruined my wedding dress, and Mum's first response was to protect your feelings. Again. Emma reached for my hand. I let her take it, remembering how we used to sit just like this after Dad died. What can I do? She asked. Tell me how to fix this. I squeezed her hand. First, you need to stop letting Mom make excuses for you. Stand up and take responsibility. She nodded. And I took a deep breath. I need you to stand with me at the wedding, not just as my sister, but as someone who finally sees the truth. What do you mean? I'm going to say some things in my speech, things Mom won't like hearing, things that need to be said. Emma was quiet for a long moment. You're going to call her out? At your wedding? Not to hurt her, I explained. To heal. To finally be heard. She'll be devastated. I've been devastated for years, I countered. Maybe it's time she understood how that feels. Emma looked at Dad's headstone, then back at me. He would want us to fix this, to be sisters again. We can't be sisters again until we're honest about what broke us apart. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll stand with you. Whatever you need to say, I'll back you up. I felt something shift between us, like a wall crumbling, or a wound finally starting to heal. The dress, Emma started, is ruined, I finished. But maybe that needed to happen. Maybe we needed everything to fall apart so we could put it back together right. Emma leaned her head on my shoulder, just like she used to when we were kids. I'm sorry, Del, for everything. For the first time since finding the ruined dress, I felt the knot in my chest loosen slightly. This wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. I know, I said softly. I know you are. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. I sat at the head table, watching Emma chat with Jordan's family, while Mom fluttered around her like a nervous butterfly. Some things never change. You okay? Jordan squeezed my hand under the table. Fine, I lied, taking another sip of wine. Just ready for this to be over. Milena, Jordan's mother, leaned in from my other side. Delaney, dear, is everything all right? You seem tense. Before I could answer, Mom clinked her glass. Everyone, I think it's time for some toasts. My stomach clenched. We hadn't planned for toasts tonight. That was supposed to be tomorrow, at the wedding. Emma has prepared something special, Mom announced, beaming. Of course she had. Emma stood, looking uncertain. She caught my eye, and I saw a flash of guilt cross her face. She hadn't mentioned this to me during our cemetery talk. Emma cleared her throat. I want to tell a story about my sister. The room fell quiet. I gripped my wineglass tighter. When we were little, Delaney was always the responsible one, the perfect one. Emma's voice wavered. After Dad died, she became even more perfect. While I was falling apart, she was holding everything together. Mom's smile faltered slightly. I never appreciated that, Emma continued. I never saw how much she gave up for me. And recently, I did something unforgivable. I ruined her wedding dress because I was selfish and thoughtless. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Mom stepped forward, probably to interrupt, but Emma held up her hand. No, Mom, let me finish. Emma's voice grew stronger. Delaney found another dress, a beautiful one. But that's not the point. The point is, I've been taking things from her my whole life, and it's time I gave something back. She reached into her purse and pulled out a familiar leather case. Dad's watch. Del, this belongs to you. Dad promised it to you, and I had no right to accept it when Mum gave it to me. Mum's face went white. Emma, that's not necessary. Yes, it is, Emma insisted. She walked over and placed the watch in front of me. It's time for things to change. The silence in the room was deafening. I stared at the watch, my vision blurring with tears. Well, Milena said brightly, too brightly, shall we move on to dinner? But Emma wasn't finished. And Mom, we need to talk about... That's enough, Emma, Mom cut in sharply. This isn't the time or place. When is the time? I found myself standing, my chair scraping back. When it's convenient for you. When it won't make you look bad. Jordan touched my arm. Del, maybe we should... No. I picked up the watch, its familiar weight grounding me. Emma's right. Things need to change. Mum's face hardened. Delaney, you're making a scene. Am I? I laughed. Funny how that only matters when it's me doing it. When Emma makes scenes, they're just crying for help. Perhaps we should take a break, Milena suggested, standing. Clear the room for a moment? But people were already watching, riveted by the family drama unfolding before them. You know what? I said, clasping Dad's watch around my wrist. You're right, Mom. This isn't the place. We'll save it for tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Mom asked, her voice sharp with worry. My wedding, I reminded her. You remember, the one where I'm wearing my second-choice dress because you couldn't be bothered to hold Emma accountable. That wedding. Delaney, Mom warned. Don't worry, I said, sitting back down. I'm done. For now. The rest of dinner passed in awkward conversation and pointed silences. Emma kept trying to catch my eye, but I focused on my plate. Jordan's family made valiant attempts at small talk, while Mom sat rigid beside me, barely touching her food. Later, as guests were leaving, Milena pulled me aside. I know family pain when I see it, she said quietly. And I know there's more to this story than a ruined dress. I nodded, unable to speak. Whatever you're planning to say tomorrow, she continued, make sure you're saying it for the right reasons. Not for revenge, but for healing. How did you know I was planning something? Milena smiled sadly. Because I see myself in you. The dutiful daughter who finally reached her breaking point. She squeezed my arm. Just remember, once words are said, they can't be unsaid. I watched her walk away, her words echoing in my head. Across the room, Mom was helping Emma with her coat, fussing over her as always. But this time, Emma gently pushed her hands away. I can do it myself, Mom, I heard her say. I'm not a child anymore. Mom's hands fell to her sides, lost without someone to fuss over. For a moment, she looked old and uncertain. I touched Dad's watch, feeling its steady tick against my wrist. Tomorrow would change everything. I just hoped we'd all survive the fallout. You look beautiful, Serenity said, adjusting my veil. The new dress wasn't the one I'd dreamed of, but it fit perfectly, both the dress and the moment. Thanks. I checked my reflection, Dad's watch gleaming at my wrist. Have you seen Emma? She's keeping your mum busy in the other room. Serenity smirked. Very busy. Last I heard, she was having an elaborate crisis about her makeup. A knock at the door made us both turn. Milena entered, carrying a small box. I have something for you, she said, closing the door behind her. But first we need to talk. My stomach tightened. About your mother. Milena sat down, patting the chair beside her. And about what I know. I exchanged glances with Serenity, who nodded and slipped out of the room. What do you mean, what you know? I asked, sitting down carefully in my dress. Your father's life insurance policy, Milena said quietly. I was his financial advisor. My heart stopped. What about it? It was substantial, very substantial. Milena opened the box, revealing documents. And it was meant to be split equally between you and Emma. The room seemed to tilt. But Mom said, she said there was barely enough to cover the funeral. There was enough to pay for both your college educations, with plenty left over. Milena's voice was gentle but firm. Your mother chose to handle it differently. My hand shook as I took the papers. She used it all on Emma. Private therapy, college tuition, that apartment in the city. Milena nodded. Meanwhile, you worked through school, took out loans. Does Emma know? I don't believe so. Milena touched my arm. I've wanted to tell you for years, but professionally, I couldn't. Now that you're getting married, these records legally belong to you. Hot tears splashed onto the papers. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve to know the truth before you make your speech. She squeezed my hand. And because sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is force people to face their mistakes. A soft knock interrupted us. Emma poked her head in. Mum's finally settled. I told her I needed... Dell, are you crying? I quickly wiped my eyes. Happy tears, wedding day and all. Emma didn't look convinced. She came in, closing the door. What are those papers? Milena stood. I'll give you two a moment. After she left, Emma picked up one of the documents. Her face went pale as she read. Is this real? She whispered. I nodded. Apparently Mum's been lying to both of us. Emma sank into a chair. All those times you were working double shifts in college, when you couldn't afford your textbooks. While you had that nice apartment near campus, I finished. I didn't know, Emma said, her voice breaking. I swear, Dell, I didn't know. I believe you. And surprisingly, I did. But Mom knew. She knew every time I called home crying about money. Every time I had to skip a class because I couldn't afford the materials. Emma's makeup was starting to run. What are you going to do? What I planned to do anyway. I stood, smoothing my dress. Tell the truth. In your speech. In my speech. I checked the time. 20 minutes until the ceremony. You still with me? Emma stood, squaring her shoulders. Always. From now on, always. We hugged carefully, mindful of our dresses and makeup. When we pulled apart, Emma was smiling through her tears. You know what's funny, she said. That ruined dress might be the best thing that ever happened to us. A knock at the door announced Serenity's return. It's time, Dell. I took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who'd found her ruined wedding dress weeks ago. She was stronger now, clearer. Ready? Emma asked. Almost. I turned to her. Just stay close during the reception. When I start my speech, I might need you. Front table right beside you, she promised. And Dell, I'm sorry. For everything. But mostly for not seeing what was happening all these years. The wedding march began playing distantly. Serenity handed me my bouquet, and Emma quickly fixed her makeup. Let's go get you married, Serenity said. Then we can deal with everything else. As we lined up outside the chapel doors, I caught sight of Mom in the front row, dabbing her eyes theatrically. She had no idea what was coming. Part of me felt guilty, but then I thought of all those nights I'd cried myself to sleep, wondering why I wasn't enough for her. Dad's watch ticked steadily at my wrist, like a countdown to truth. The doors opened, and the music swelled. It was time to walk down the aisle, say my vows, and then finally, say everything else I'd been holding back for years. I took my first step forward, Emma and Serenity behind me, toward Jordan and our future, toward the moment when everything would change. The reception was in full swing when I approached the microphone. Jordan squeezed my hand one last time before I stood, champagne glass trembling slightly in my grip. The usual clinking of glasses quieted the room. "First, I want to thank everyone for being here today," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Marriage is about honesty, trust, and facing hard truths together. So in that spirit, I'd like to tell you all a story." Mom shifted in her seat, her smile becoming fixed. Emma reached over and gripped my free hand. "When I was 16, my father died. He left behind 2 daughters and a substantial life insurance policy meant to take care of both of us equally." I paused, watching Mom's face pale. "I only learned this morning that while I worked my way through college, that money was being spent elsewhere." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mom started to stand, but Milena's hand on her arm kept her seated. "But this isn't just about money," I continued. "It's about a pattern, about a mother who decided one daughter needed her more than the other, about years of missed moments and dismissed feelings." "Delaney," Mom's voice carried across the room, warning in her tone. "No, Mom, you've done enough talking." I held up my wrist, displaying Dad's watch. "Remember giving this to Emma? Dad's watch, the one he specifically promised to me. You gave it away because Emma needed something to remember him by. As if I didn't need that too." The room was dead silent now. Even the servers had stopped moving. "And then there's the wedding dress incident." I smiled without humor. "My sister took my wedding dress to a party without permission and ruined it. And you, Mom, your first concern was making sure Emma didn't feel too bad about it." "That's not fair." Mom stood up, her voice shaking. "I offered to pay." "With what money?" I cut in. "The money you took from my half of Dad's insurance, the money that was supposed to help me through college." Gasps echoed through the room. Emma stood up beside me, her voice clear and strong. "It's true," she announced. "I saw the documents today." "Mom, how could you?" Mom's face crumpled. "I was trying to protect you, Emma. You were so fragile after your father died." "And I wasn't," I interrupted. "Or did you just decide I could handle it because I didn't fall apart as publicly as Emma did?" "You were always stronger," Mom pleaded. "I had to be." My voice cracked. "You didn't give me a choice. Every time I needed you, you were too busy with Emma's latest crisis. Every time I accomplished something, it got overshadowed by Emma's needs." Milena stood up then, addressing the room. "As Richard's financial advisor, I can confirm everything Delaney is saying. The insurance policy was explicitly meant to be divided equally." Mom sank back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I was doing what was best." "Best for who, Mom?" Emma asked. "Not for Delaney, and not for me either. You didn't help me by teaching me that my feelings mattered more than everyone else's." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "I'm not saying this to hurt you, Mom. I'm saying it because I'm done pretending everything's okay. I'm done being the responsible one who never complains. I'm done watching you favor one daughter while ignoring the other." Jordan stood up then, moving to my side. "And I'm done watching my wife hurt in silence." "So what happens now?" Mom asked, her voice small. "Now?" I set down my glass. "Now we start over, with truth this time. No more pretending, no more favoritism, no more lies about money or anything else." Emma nodded firmly. "And if you can't do that, Mum, then you'll lose both of us." The silence that followed was heavy with years of unspoken pain and betrayal. Then, from the back of the room, someone started clapping. Others joined in, until the whole room was applauding. Mum sat there, mascara running down her face, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to fall back into old patterns, but Emma's hand was still in mine, squeezing tight, reminding me why we were doing this. "I'm sorry," Mum whispered, but in the quiet room everyone heard. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough anymore," I said gently. "We need change, real change." I turned back to the microphone. "Thank you all for witnessing this. It wasn't the wedding speech I originally planned, but it's the one that needed to be said." As I stepped away from the microphone, Jordan wrapped his arms around me. Over his shoulder, I saw Milena nodding approvingly, serenity wiping away tears, and Emma standing tall beside me. Mom sat alone at her table, finally facing the consequences of years of choices. It wasn't the happy ending she'd probably imagined for my wedding day, but maybe it was the beginning we all needed. The band started playing again, filling the awkward silence. As Jordan led me to the dance floor for our first dance, I felt lighter somehow. The truth was out, the wounds were exposed, and now, finally, they could begin to heal. The morning after the wedding, I found Mom sitting alone in my childhood kitchen, staring at an old photo album. She looked up when I entered, her eyes red and swollen. "I thought you'd be on your honeymoon," she said softly. "We leave tonight." I started making coffee, the familiar routine steadying my hands. "Jordan's helping Emma move some of her things from your house." "She's moving out?" Mum's voice cracked. "Into my old apartment. We thought it would be good for her to stand on her own 2 feet. I set a mug in front of her. For both of us to stand on our own. Mom traced the rim of her mug. "I got calls all morning. Aunt Sarah, Uncle Mike. They all want to know if what you said was true. And what did you tell them?" "The truth, finally." She pulled out a thick envelope. "I went to the bank this morning. It's not everything. I can't get it all at once, but it's a start." I stared at the envelope. "Mom, it's your money, Delaney. It always was." She pushed it toward me. "I can't undo what I did, but I can start making it right." The front door opened, and Emma's voice carried through the house. "Del, you here? Carson's truck is loaded up." She appeared in the doorway, freezing when she saw Mom. Jordan and Carson, Emma's boyfriend, hung back awkwardly. "Should we come back?" Jordan asked. "No," I said firmly. "We all need to talk anyway." Emma sat down across from Mom while the guys brought in more boxes. The kitchen felt crowded with unspoken words. "I found something this morning," Emma said, pulling out a folded paper. "My therapy bills from college. The real ones, not the ones you showed me." Mom's hands began to shake. "Emma, you told me they were $300 per session." Emma's voice was steady. "They were actually $150. Where did the other half go?" "To my account," Mom whispered, "to cover other expenses." "My expenses?" I asked. "The ones you claimed you couldn't help with?" Mom nodded, tears falling. I was so afraid of Emma falling apart again, of losing her like we almost did after your father died. I convinced myself it was okay to use the money that way. "I never asked you to steal from my sister," Emma said sharply. "No, you didn't." Mom wiped her eyes. "I did that all on my own. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was protecting myself. From guilt, from fear. From having to treat us equally," I finished. Jordan stepped forward. "I think we should all sit down, really talk this through." We gathered around the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had countless family dinners, where Dad used to help us with homework, where everything had once seemed simple. "I'm selling the house," Mom announced suddenly. "What?" Emma and I said together. "It's too big for just me and—" She took a deep breath. "I need to pay back what I took. Both of you deserve to start your lives without debt." "Mom, you don't have to," Emma started. "Yes, I do." Mom's voice was stronger now. "I've spent years making excuses, playing favorites, hiding the truth. It stops now." Carson, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. "Emma's been talking about starting her own art therapy practice. Maybe that money could help with that." Emma's eyes widened. "I couldn't." "Yes, you could," I said. "That's exactly what Dad would have wanted. Both of us using our inheritance to build our futures." "And me?" Mom asked quietly. "What happens with me?" I reached across the table and took her hand. "You get to prove that you meant everything you just said, that you're really ready to change." "Starting with family therapy," Emma added. "All 3 of us." Mom nodded, squeezing my hand. "I'd like that." "And Mom," I pulled out the envelope she'd given me earlier. "Keep this for now. Use it to find a smaller place after you sell the house. We'll figure out the rest together." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these seemed different somehow. Lighter. I don't deserve such amazing daughters, she whispered. No, Emma agreed, but you can earn us back, day by day. Jordan wrapped an arm around my shoulders, and I leaned into him, watching my mother and sister across the table. We weren't fixed, not by a long shot, but for the first time in years, it felt like we were all facing the same direction. So, Carson said, breaking the heavy moment, who's helping me unload this truck? We all laughed, the tension breaking like a fever. As we moved boxes into Emma's new apartment, I caught glimpses of what could be. Sunday dinners where everyone felt valued, holidays without hidden resentments, a future where my children would never have to wonder if they were enough. Dad's watch ticked steadily on my wrist, marking each moment of this new beginning. Something told me he would have been proud, not of the secrets or the pain, but of the truth that finally set us free. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees as I placed fresh flowers on Dad's grave. This time, I wasn't alone. Emma sat beside me, and Mom stood slightly behind us, holding a small box. Should we do this here? Emma asked, glancing at Dad's headstone. He should be part of it, I said, even if it's just in spirit. Mum knelt down, opening the box. Inside lay Dad's watch, the one I'd worn at my wedding, the one that had sparked so much change. The jeweler sized it perfectly, Mum said, lifting it out. Are you sure about this, Delaney? I nodded. It's time. We'd spent the past few weeks in family therapy, unpacking years of hurt and resentment. It hadn't been easy. There were sessions where we'd all left in tears, days when it felt like we'd never move forward. But we kept going. Mom handed the watch to Emma, who turned it over in her hands, examining the new inscription on the back. For my sisters, she read aloud, time heals all wounds. Del, it's perfect. We'll share it, I explained. 6 months each, a reminder that we're both Dad's daughters, both equally worthy of his legacy. Mom wiped her eyes. He would have loved that. He would have loved seeing us finally acting like real sisters, Emma added, fastening the watch on her wrist. Like we used to be. A car door slammed nearby, and we looked up to see Serenity approaching with a large portfolio. Sorry I'm late, she called. Traffic was awful, but I brought the designs. Emma jumped up excitedly. Let me see. We gathered around as Serenity spread out the architectural plans for Emma's new art therapy studio, the one we were building together with our shared inheritance. The contractor can start next month, Serenity explained, pointing to different areas. Treatment rooms here, gallery space there, and this whole wall will be windows overlooking the garden. It's perfect, Emma breathed. Del, I still can't believe you're doing this with me. That's what sisters do, I said. Besides, my accounting firm needs new clients. You're stuck with me as your business manager whether you like it or not. Mom touched the plans gently. Your father would be so proud of both of you, working together, supporting each other. Speaking of support, Emma said, pulling out her phone, I have something to show you both. She pulled up a photo of her latest art piece, a striking canvas split in two, one side dark and chaotic, the other emerging into light. It's called Sisters, she explained. I'm donating it to the Family Therapy Center. They're hanging it in the waiting room. Mum's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, Emma. That's not all, Emma continued. I'm starting a scholarship program through the studio for siblings who need therapy but can't afford it. In Dad's name. I hugged her tight, both of us crying now. Even Mom stepped forward, tentatively wrapping her arms around us both. Group hug, Serenity called, joining in. Sorry, couldn't resist. We laughed through our tears, the sound echoing across the peaceful cemetery. When we pulled apart, Mom looked different somehow, lighter, more real. I have something for you too, she said, reaching into her purse. She pulled out 2 sets of keys. To my new condo, one for each of you. I want you to feel welcome there, always. Thanks, Mom, Emma said softly. And there's more, Mum continued. I've started volunteering at the Grief Counseling Center, where we did family therapy, helping other families navigate loss and change. It's helping me understand everything better. I took my key, running my finger over its smooth surface. New beginnings all around, huh? Speaking of which, Emma grinned, when are you and Jordan making me an aunt? Emma! I swatted her arm, laughing. What? I need to know how long I have to finish the nursery mural I'm planning. We all laughed again, and this time it felt natural, unforced, like family should feel. We should go, Serenity said, checking the time. The contractor's meeting us at the studio site in 20 minutes. As we gathered our things, I touched Dad's headstone one last time. The watch gleamed on Emma's wrist, catching the sunlight. Bye, Dad, I whispered. We're okay now, promise. Walking back to our cars, I felt something settle in my chest, not the heavy weight of resentment I'd carried for so long, but something lighter, something like peace. Ready? Emma called, jangling her keys. Ready, I answered, meaning so much more than just leaving the cemetery. Mom locked the box that had held the watch, tucking it into her purse. My daughters, she said softly, proudly, and for the first time in years, she meant both of us equally. We drove away separately, but headed to the same place, finally moving forward together. The past hadn't changed, but we had. And sometimes that's enough.
The words cut through me like a knife as I stood frozen outside my daughter's bedroom door. But Grandma Jackie says Mom's not smart enough to help with homework anyway. My 14-year-old Lexus's voice drifted into the hallway, followed by my 12-year-old son Kian's agreement. I'm Sandra. And until that moment, I thought I was doing okay as a mother. Sure, I didn't finish college, choosing instead to support my husband Prince through law school and raise our children. But I've always been there for them. Cooking, cleaning, helping with projects, attending every game and recital. Yet somehow, my mother-in-law had managed to convince my children I was stupid. Your mother means well, dear. Jacqueline had said just yesterday, patting my hand condescendingly at our weekly family dinner. But perhaps Lexus should call me when she needs help with her advanced placement courses. After all, we want her to maintain those grades, don't we? I'd gripped my fork tighter, smile plastered on my face, while Prince became suddenly very interested in his mashed potatoes. He never stands up to his mother. Never. Actually, I helped Lexus with her last history project, I'd said. She got an A. Jacqueline had laughed that tinkling laugh that makes my skin crawl. Oh, sweetheart, anyone can help stick pictures on a poster board? I'm talking about real academic assistance. Now, hearing my children echo her words, something inside me snapped. I pushed open the bedroom door. Is that what you really think? Both kids jumped. Lexus's face flushed red, but she lifted her chin defiantly. Well, you didn't even finish college, Mom. And you're always asking Dad for help with the big words in the newspaper, Kian added. I walked into the room and sat on Lexus's bed. Do you know why I didn't finish college? They shook their heads. Because I chose to support your father through law school instead. Someone had to work to pay the bills, and someone had to take care of you two. That was my choice. It doesn't make me stupid. But Grandma Jackie says, Grandma Jackie doesn't know everything. My voice came out sharper than intended. I took a deep breath. Did you know I had a full scholarship to UCLA before I met your father? Their eyes widened. This was news to them. Mom, why didn't you ever tell us? Lexus asked. Because I've never regretted my choice to put our family first. But maybe... I stood up, a plan forming in my mind. Maybe it's time for some changes around here. That evening, I confronted Prince in our bedroom. Your mother has to stop undermining me in front of the kids. He sighed, loosening his tie. She means well, Sandra. Does she? Because today I heard our children discussing how I'm too stupid to help with their homework. Is that meaning well? She's just traditional. She believes I'm beneath you because I'm just a housewife. And now our kids believe it too. I felt tears threatening, but forced them back. When was the last time you defended me to her? His silence was answer enough. I'm going back to school, I announced. Prince's head snapped up. What? Law school, specifically. The idea had been forming all afternoon, and now that I said it out loud, it felt right. I'm going to show our children, and your mother, exactly what I'm capable of. Law school? Sandra, that's years of intense study. The LSAT alone? Are you saying I can't do it? He backpedaled quickly. No, of course not. It's a big commitment. What about the kids? The kids need to see their mother as someone worthy of respect. Right now, thanks to your mother, they don't. I moved to the door, then turned back. I'm doing this, Prince. Either support me or get out of my way. That night, I lay awake planning. Tomorrow, I'd call my best friend Bianca. She'd help me figure out the first steps. I'd need to study for the LSAT, research schools, figure out financing. The path ahead looked daunting, but every time I closed my eyes, I heard my children's voices. Mom's not smart enough. Well, Jacqueline Howard, I thought. Just watch me prove you wrong. I'm done being the quiet, accommodating daughter-in-law. I'm done letting you shape how my children see me. You want to talk about intelligence? Let's see how you handle it when I'm the one with the law degree. I finally drifted off to sleep, dreaming of leather-bound law books and the sweet satisfaction of proving everyone wrong. You're doing what? Bianca nearly spat out her coffee across the cafe table. Law school? You? Thanks for the vote of confidence, I muttered, stirring my untouched latte. No, that's not what I meant. She reached across and grabbed my hand. I'm just surprised. But honestly, it's brilliant. It's exactly what you need to do. I smiled, feeling the first flutter of excitement since making my decision. Really? Absolutely. That witch Jacqueline needs to see what you're made of. And your kids? Bianca shook her head. They need to see their mom crush it. I bought LSAT prep books yesterday, I said, pulling one from my bag. Prince almost choked when he saw the receipt. Speaking of Prince, how's he taking it? I sighed. He's adjusting. Says he supports me, but I can tell he's worried about how his precious mother will react. And when are you planning to tell her? Sunday dinner. Should be fun. I tried to laugh, but it came out more like a wheeze. The dreaded Sunday arrived too quickly. I'd spent the week buried in LSAT prep, surprising myself with how much I was actually enjoying it. Logic games that had initially seemed impossible were starting to make sense. Jacqueline's perfectly coiffed head appeared in our doorway at exactly 6 p.m. Something smells interesting, she said, sniffing the air. It's coq au vin, I replied. I've been taking French cooking classes. Oh, finally trying to better yourself? How nice. She patted my cheek as she passed. I counted to 10 in my head. During dinner, I waited until everyone had started eating before dropping my bomb. I've decided to go to law school. The clatter of silverware against plates was almost comical. Jacqueline's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. I'm sorry, dear. I must have misheard you. No, you heard correctly. I took a sip of water, maintaining eye contact. I'm studying for the LSAT now. I plan to apply for next fall's admission. Jacqueline's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. Darling, law school isn't like those cooking classes. It requires intellectual rigor. Mom, Prince warned, but she waved him off. I'm simply being realistic. Sandra, dear, know your limitations. There's no shame in being... She paused delicately. Domestic. Like you mean? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. Weren't you just complaining last week about having to ask Prince for help with your taxes? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. How dare you? Jacqueline's face flushed. I raised a successful son who I helped put through law school. I interrupted, and now it's my turn. Mom's really good at the practice tests. Lexis piped up unexpectedly. I saw her scoring them yesterday. Jacqueline turned to her granddaughter. Sweetheart, there's a vast difference between a practice test and actual law school. Your mother would be competing against people who have certain advantages she lacks. Like what? I challenged. A trust fund? A country club membership? Or just your approval? Sandra, Prince started, but I cut him off. No, I want to hear exactly what advantages I'm lacking. Please, Jacqueline, enlighten us all. She stood up, napkin falling to the floor. I will not sit here and be attacked in my son's home by his wife? The mother of his children? The woman who's about to prove you wrong about everything you've ever said about her? This is ridiculous, she spat. Prince, are you going to allow this? Prince looked between us, then slowly set down his fork. Actually, Mother, I think Sandra will make an excellent lawyer. The silence that followed was deafening. Jacqueline's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I think we're done with dinner, I said calmly, standing up. Lexus, Kian, please help clear the table. This isn't over, Jacqueline hissed as she gathered her things to leave. You're making a fool of yourself, and worse, you're embarrassing my son. I held the door open for her. You know what, Jacqueline? You're right about one thing. This isn't over. It's just beginning. After she left, Prince wrapped his arms around me. That was intense. Are you mad? He kissed the top of my head. No, I'm proud. And a little scared of you. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. Good, because I meant every word. I'm doing this. Later that night, I called Bianca to recount the evening. You actually said that to her face? She squealed. God, I wish I'd been there. It felt good, I admitted. Really good. But now I have to back it up. You will, she said firmly, and I'll help you every step of the way. I hung up and opened my LSAT prep book, more determined than ever. Jacqueline had unknowingly given me exactly what I needed. The fire to prove her wrong. Mom, where's my soccer uniform? Kian shouted from upstairs. Laundry room, I called back, highlighting another passage in my LSAT prep book. Third shelf. Mom, can you proofread my essay? Lexus appeared in the doorway, laptop in hand. Give me 5 minutes to finish this section. I glanced at the kitchen clock, 6:45 a.m. The kids needed to leave for school in 20 minutes, and I had my LSAT prep course at 9. 6 months had passed since the dinner confrontation with Jacqueline. 6 months of juggling household duties, kids' activities, and intensive studying. Dark circles had become my permanent accessories, but my practice test scores were steadily climbing. This doesn't make sense, Lexus said, peering over my shoulder at my logic games practice. How can you understand this stuff? I smiled. The same way you understand algebra. Practice and persistence. The doorbell rang unexpectedly. I opened it to find Jacqueline, immaculately dressed as always. I thought I'd drive the children to school today, she announced, sweeping past me. Give you more time for your studies. The way she said studies made it sound like a dirty word. That's not necessary, I started, but Kian was already bounding down the stairs. Cool. Grandma Jackie, can we stop for breakfast? Of course, darling. Anything you want. She shot me a triumphant look. Unlike some people, I have time for my grandchildren. I bit my tongue, remembering my therapist's advice about choosing my battles. Fine. Kids, have a good day. After they left, I threw myself into studying until it was time for my prep course. The local library had become my second home, and today I arrived to find an unexpected ally. Sandra, Moses, a retired judge who volunteered at the library, waved me over. I was hoping you'd come in today. I have something for you. He pulled out a stack of old law school textbooks. These helped me through my first year. They're yours if you want them. I haven't even taken the LSAT yet, I protested, but you will, and you'll pass. He leaned forward. I've been watching you study here every day. You have what it takes. What's that? Determination, and something to prove. He winked. The best lawyers always do. Later that afternoon, I was deep in a practice test when my phone buzzed. A text from Prince. Mother just called. Says she's worried about the kids. Says they're being neglected. My hands shook as I typed back. Because she drove them to school one time? She mentioned Kian's grade in math dropped. It dropped from an A to an A. One assignment. I'm handling it. I know. I told her that. Just wanted you to know what she's saying. I was about to respond when another text came through, this time from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of a social media post. Jacqueline lamenting about modern mothers who prioritize their vanity projects over their children's well-being. Bianca called seconds later. Did you see what that witch posted? Just now. I tried to keep my voice steady. She's trying to get to me. Don't let her. How's the studying going? Good. Really good, actually. Moses gave me his old textbooks today. The retired judge? That's huge. Bianca paused. Hey, want some interesting info about your mother-in-law? What kind? My cousin works at the country club. Apparently, Jacqueline's been late with her membership dues. 3 months running. I sat up straighter. Really? Yep. Rumor has it she's having money troubles. Her investment guy made some bad calls. This information settled in my mind like a seed. I filed it away for future reference. That evening, I helped Kian with his math while dinner simmered on the stove. Lexus sat at the kitchen counter working on her homework. Mom, she said suddenly, I told Grandma Jackie she was wrong about you. I looked up. What do you mean? She said you were being selfish, choosing studying over us. I told her you still help us with everything. You just sleep less. Lexus smiled. I told her you're showing us that it's never too late to follow your dreams. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you, sweetheart. Also, Kian added, I told her you're way better at explaining math than she is. I laughed, pulling them both into a hug. I love you guys. Later, after the kids were in bed, I sat with my practice materials, energized despite the late hour. Jacqueline might be trying to tear me down, but she was only making me stronger. And if what Bianca said about her financial troubles was true, well, karma had a way of evening things out. I opened Moses's textbook and began to read, a small smile playing on my lips. The LSAT was in 3 weeks, and I was ready. Congratulations to our graduating class. The dean's voice boomed across the law school auditorium. 3 years of relentless work, sleepless nights, and proving everyone wrong had led to this moment. I spotted my family in the crowd. Prince beamed proudly, while Lexus and Kian held up a homemade banner. Way to go, Mom. Notably absent was Jacqueline, who developed a convenient migraine this morning. After the ceremony, Bianca rushed over, nearly tackling me with a hug. You did it, and with honors. Take that, Jacqueline. Speaking of the devil, Prince muttered, nodding toward the entrance. There stood Jacqueline, looking uncomfortable in last season's designer dress. Another sign of her continuing financial struggles. Sandra, she said stiffly, air kissing my cheek. I suppose congratulations are in order. How's your migraine? I asked sweetly. Before she could respond, Moses appeared. There's my star student. Ready for your first day at the firm next week? Jacqueline's eyes widened. You've already secured a position? Top firm in the city, Moses said proudly. I recommended her myself. I watched Jacqueline's face cycle through various emotions before settling on a tight smile. How fortunate. 1 week later, I walked into Harrison and Wilcox law firm, armed with a new briefcase and determination. Moses had pulled strings to get me in, but now I had to prove myself. You must be Sandra, a sharp voice said. I turned to find a younger woman in a power suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I'm Heidi. I'll be showing you around. Her tour felt more like an interrogation. So, you're Moses's pet project? Must be nice having connections. I earned my place here, I replied firmly, just like everyone else. She smirked. We'll see about that. The next few months were a blur of case files, court appearances, and office politics. Heidi seemed determined to see me fail, but I channeled my years of dealing with Jacqueline into handling her with grace. Your brief on the Martinez case is actually not terrible, Heidi admitted one late night, dropping a file on my desk. High praise indeed. I said dryly, not looking up from my computer. She hesitated. Look, I may have been a bit harsh initially. A bit? Fine, I was a total witch. But you've proven yourself. She sat on the edge of my desk. And I heard about how you handled the Thompson negotiation today. Pretty impressive. I finally looked up. Thanks, Heidi. Don't let it go to your head. But she was smiling as she left. Later that week, I was preparing for court when I overheard two paralegals gossiping in the break room. Did you hear about Mrs. Howard? Apparently, she's desperate for work. Her husband's investments tanked, and now she's applying everywhere. The same Mrs. Howard who used to host those fancy charity galas? The very same. Karma's a real piece of work, isn't it? I froze, coffee cup halfway to my lips. Jacqueline was job hunting? The woman who'd spent years looking down on working mothers? Sandra? Moses appeared in the doorway. Got a minute? In his office, he got straight to the point. The partners are impressed with your work. We're considering you for junior partner. I sat up straighter. Already? But I've only been here. And you've already brought in 3 major clients and won every case you've touched. He leaned forward. There's something else. We're expanding the firm. Opening a new division. We want you to head it. Me? You'd have full autonomy over hiring. He slid a proposal across the desk. Think about it. That evening, I shared the news with Prince over dinner. Junior partner? Sandra, that's incredible. He hugged me tight. I'm so proud of you. There's more. I told him about the new division. I'd be building my own team. You should do it. Lexus chimed in. Show everyone what you can do. Speaking of everyone, Prince said carefully, Mother called today. She's looking for work. Asked if I knew of any openings. I stared at the proposal on our kitchen counter, an idea forming. Actually, I might know of something. Really? I nodded, a slow smile spreading across my face. Tell her to send her resume to Harrison and Wilcox. They're hiring administrative staff for a new division. You'd hire Mother? After everything? Let's just say I'm curious to see how she handles working for someone she underestimated. Prince looked concerned. Are you sure about this? I thought about all the times Jacqueline had belittled me, all the snide comments and condescending looks. Oh yes, I'm very sure. Tell her to send that resume in. Sometimes karma needs a little push in the right direction. Mrs. Howard is here for her interview, my assistant announced through the intercom. Send her to conference room B, I replied. And make sure Heidi handles the initial interview. I watched through the one-way glass as Jacqueline entered, wearing a suit that had definitely seen better days. Her usual confident stride was replaced by something more hesitant. Mrs. Howard. Heidi greeted her professionally. Please have a seat. Thank you for seeing me, Jacqueline said, her voice lacking its usual imperious tone. I understand you're looking for administrative staff? Yes, for our new division. The director is quite particular about who we hire. Heidi glanced at Jacqueline's resume. I see you haven't worked in an office environment before. I've managed numerous charity events and... Professional experience, Heidi interrupted. Paid positions? Jacqueline shifted uncomfortably. No, but I'm a quick learner. Heidi made a note. The position requires computer proficiency. Are you familiar with modern office software? I use email? I had to suppress a laugh. How many times had Jacqueline mocked my menial skills with computers? We'll need references, Heidi continued. Professional ones. Would my country club membership committee? Former employers, Heidi cut in again. Though I understand you've had to give up your club membership recently? Jacqueline's face flushed. My financial situation is private. Not when you're seeking employment with us. We do thorough background checks, including credit histories. I watched Jacqueline's hands clench in her lap, a gesture I recognized from years of family dinners. I see, she said stiffly. Well, perhaps this isn't the right fit. Actually, Heidi consulted her notes. The director specifically requested to meet you. She'll be joining us shortly. Jacqueline's relief was palpable. Clearly, she thought her social connections might still save her. If only she knew. I gave them 5 more minutes before entering the conference room. Jacqueline's back was to the door, but I saw her spine stiffen as my heels clicked across the floor. "Mrs. Howard," I said pleasantly. "What a surprise." She whirled around, face draining of color. "Sandra?" "That's Director Quinn here," Heidi corrected, barely concealing her smirk. This is your division?" Jacqueline's voice was barely a whisper. "Newly appointed," I confirmed, taking a seat. "Heidi, could you give us a moment?" Once we were alone, I opened Jacqueline's file. "So, you're interested in working for us?" "I didn't know. I wouldn't have—" She stood up. This was clearly a mistake. "Why? Because working for your daughter-in-law is beneath you?" "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Actually, I'm taking it very seriously. Sit down, please." To my surprise, she did. "Your financial situation is dire," I stated plainly. "Your investment advisor lost most of your savings. Your house is mortgaged to the hilt, and you need this job." "How dare you?" "I dare because I'm in a position to help you. Despite everything, you're family. And unlike some people, I don't believe in using family connections to tear others down." That hit home. She looked away. "The position is yours if you want it," I continued. "Standard probationary period, fair salary, full benefits. But understand this. You'll be treated like any other employee. No special treatment, no exceptions. And if I refuse, then you can explain to Prince why his mother is too proud to accept a perfectly good job offer from his wife." She was quiet for a long moment. "You've changed." "No, I haven't. I've always been capable. You just never bothered to see it." Another pause. "When would I start?" "Monday, 8 a.m. sharp. Heidi will be your direct supervisor." "Heidi? But she's half my age." "Welcome to the corporate world, Jacqueline. Age doesn't equal authority here. Capability does." She stood again, smoothing her skirt. "Very well, I accept." "Excellent. HR will email you the paperwork." I rose to leave, then turned back. "Oh, and Jacqueline? The dress code here is business professional. Every day." I watched her face as she calculated the cost of a new work wardrobe she couldn't afford. "I'm sure you'll figure it out," I added sweetly. "After all, you're a quick learner." After she left, Heidi burst into my office. "That was beautiful. Did you see her face when you walked in?" "Keep an eye on her," I said. "Fair but firm. No special treatment, but no targeting either." "You're nicer than I would be." "No, I'm smarter. Success is the best revenge, Heidi. And having Jacqueline witness my success up close and personal? That's priceless." That evening, I told Prince about his mother's new job. How did she take it? About as well as you'd expect. I curled up next to him on the couch. But she accepted. "Are you sure about this?" I thought about Monday morning when Jacqueline would have to answer to me. "Oh yes, I'm very sure. Sometimes the best lessons come from walking in someone else's shoes." "You're late, Mrs. Howard," Heidi announced as Jacqueline rushed into the office at 8:15 a.m., 3 weeks into her employment. "That's the 3rd time this week." The traffic was terrible, and I had to take the bus because my car— "Everyone else manages to arrive on time," Heidi interrupted, "including those who take public transportation." I watched the exchange from my office, noting how Jacqueline's shoulders tensed. She wasn't adjusting well to being on the receiving end of authority. "These need to be filed by noon," Heidi continued, dropping a stack of folders on Jacqueline's desk. "And Director Quinn needs the Thompson briefs proofread before the client meeting at 2. "I haven't finished yesterday's filing yet," Jacqueline protested. "Then I suggest you work through lunch." As Heidi walked away, I saw Jacqueline mutter something under her breath, the same way I used to when she'd make her little comments at family dinners. "Sandra?" Moses appeared in my doorway. "Got a minute?" Inside his office, he closed the door. "How's your mother-in-law working out?" She's struggling, I admitted, but she's trying. I overheard her being rather sharp with the junior associates yesterday. I know. Old habits die hard. Sandra? He leaned forward. I understand what you're doing, but don't let personal satisfaction cloud your professional judgment. I won't, I promised. Give her one more week. If she doesn't improve, I'll handle it. Later that afternoon, I passed by the break room and heard Jacqueline's voice. It's absolutely ridiculous, she was saying. That girl Heidi is barely out of law school, and she thinks she can order me around like some servant. That girl is your supervisor, another voice responded, Maria from accounting. And you're the one who applied for an entry-level position. Well, I never expected to be treated like regular staff? Maria's voice turned cold. Because you're Sandra's mother-in-law? Maybe that's exactly why you need to prove yourself more than anyone. I chose that moment to walk in. The room fell silent. Mrs. Howard, I said professionally, how are those Thompson briefs coming along? I'm working on them. Good. I need them on my desk by 1:30. I poured myself coffee and left, feeling their eyes on my back. Around 1 o'clock, Heidi came to my office. We have a situation. Your mother-in-law made Rebecca cry. Rebecca was our newest paralegal, fresh out of school and eager to learn. What happened? Rebecca asked for help finding a file, and Jacqueline told her she was too incompetent to work here and should go back to serving coffee. I closed my eyes briefly. Send them both to my office, separately. Rebecca first. Rebecca's eyes were still red when she came in. I'm sorry, Director Quinn. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't. Tell me exactly what happened. After hearing both sides, I called Jacqueline back in. Close the door, I instructed. Sit down. Sandra, that girl was being completely... Director Quinn, I corrected, and stop talking. She blinked, unused to being spoken to this way. 3 weeks ago, you accepted a position here. With that position came certain expectations. Being professional, respectful, and cooperative were among them. You failed on all counts. I'm not finished. You're late consistently. Your work is slow and often incomplete. You treat your colleagues with contempt. In short, you're displaying exactly the kind of behavior you use to criticize in others. This is because of our personal history. No, this is because you're a poor employee. The fact that you're my mother-in-law is the only reason you're getting this warning instead of being terminated immediately. She sat straighter. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you one last chance. Starting tomorrow, you'll shadow Maria in accounting. She's agreed to retrain you on basic office protocol and professional behavior. You'll report to her for the next 2 weeks. That's ridiculous. I don't need... Those are your options. Take the training or submit your resignation. The silence stretched between us. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She finally asked. Actually, no. I'm disappointed. I thought you'd rise to the challenge, show the same strength you always claimed to have. Instead, you're proving every doubt I had about hiring you. Her face flushed. I'll take the training, she said quietly. Good. Report to Maria at 8 a.m. sharp tomorrow. And Jacqueline? I waited until she met my eyes. You owe Rebecca an apology. A sincere one. After she left, I called Heidi in. Keep an eye on her with Maria, I instructed. If she steps out of line once... Heidi nodded. You know, for what it's worth, I think you're handling this better than most would. Sometimes the hardest part of revenge is showing mercy when you could show malice. Speaking of mercy, Heidi smiled. Wait until she finds out about next week's staff meeting. I couldn't help but smile back. The quarterly all-hands meeting would be interesting indeed. The quarterly all-hands meeting was set to begin in 5 minutes, and Jacqueline sat in the back row, nervously straightening her discount store blazer. 2 weeks of training with Maria had humbled her somewhat, but today would be the real test. Everyone, please take your seats, Moses announced from the podium. We have several important announcements today. I stood at the side of the conference room, watching as our entire staff filed in. Heidi caught my eye and winked. "First," Moses continued, "I'm pleased to announce that our new division, under Director Quinn's leadership, has exceeded all quarterly projections by 30%. Applause filled the room. I saw Jacqueline shift uncomfortably in her seat. "And speaking of Director Quinn," Moses smiled, "I'll let her take over from here." I walked to the podium, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "Thank you, Moses. As many of you know, when I started here as a first-year associate, I had a lot to prove." Jacqueline's head snapped up. "Some people thought I wouldn't make it, that I was too old to start a legal career, too domestic to succeed in corporate law." I paused, letting my eyes meet Jacqueline's. They were wrong. The room was silent now, everyone listening intently. Success isn't about where you come from or who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself and proving your worth through hard work. I opened my folder. Which brings me to today's announcements. Rebecca? Our young paralegal looked startled. "Yes, Director Quinn?" "Your work on the Thompson case was exceptional. Starting next month, you're being promoted to junior case manager." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears as people around her offered congratulations. Jacqueline stared at her hands. "Maria," I continued, "your mentoring program has shown remarkable results. The board has approved your proposal for a company-wide training initiative with a corresponding raise and title change." Maria beamed, and I saw her shoot a pointed look at Jacqueline. "And finally," I said, "I'd like to address our newest employees." I pulled out another paper. "Mrs. Howard?" Jacqueline looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. "Your recent performance under Maria's guidance has shown significant improvement. While you still have much to learn, your willingness to adapt is noted. You'll be moving to the corporate compliance team, where your attention to detail will be an asset." Scattered applause followed. Jacqueline's face showed confusion, clearly unsure whether this was a promotion or a lateral move. "Remember," I concluded, "at Harrison & Wilcox, we believe in second chances, but we also believe in earning your place. Thank you all." As people began filing out, Jacqueline approached the podium. Director Quinn, may I have a word?" "In my office." Once inside, she didn't sit down. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Recognizing good work? Managing my division?" "No, this whole thing. Hiring me, making me train under people half my age, and now this new position. Would you prefer I fired you?" "No, She deflated slightly. "I don't understand why you're helping me." "Sit down, Jacqueline." She sat. "Do you remember what you said when I announced I was going to law school? That I should know my limitations?" She nodded slowly. "Well, I did know my limitations. I also knew they were temporary. Every obstacle can be overcome with enough determination." I leaned forward, including pride. "Is that what this is about? Making me humble?" "This is about showing you that the very qualities you mocked in me, adaptability, willingness to learn, starting from the bottom, are exactly what you need now." Tears appeared in her eyes. "I was wrong about you." "I know. And I'm sorry. I know that too." I handed her a tissue. "Your new position starts Monday. Don't be late." She stood to leave, then paused. "The children, my grandchildren, they're proud of you, aren't they?" "Yes. And they can be proud of you too if you let them see what grace looks like in the face of adversity." After she left, Heidi burst in. "That was amazing. Did you see her face during your speech?" "It wasn't about her face," I said. "It was about her understanding. Still, it must feel good." I thought about it. You know what feels better? Knowing my kids are seeing that success doesn't mean crushing others. It means lifting yourself up, and sometimes, if you're strong enough, lifting up those who tried to hold you down. "You're too nice." Heidi laughed. "No," I smiled. "I'm just finally powerful enough to be kind." That evening, I received a text from Jacqueline. "Thank you for the second chance. Dinner on Sunday?" I showed it to Prince. "What do you think?" He wrapped his arms around me. I think you've won more than just professional success. I texted back, Sunday works, I'll cook. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in defeating your enemies, but in transforming them into allies. Mom, can you help me with my law school application essay? Lexus asked, spreading papers across my home office desk. I looked up from the case files I was reviewing. Of course, sweetheart. I want to write about what inspired me to choose law. She grinned. Guess who? Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Jacqueline entered, carrying a stack of corporate compliance reports and wearing a sensible pantsuit, a far cry from her former designer wardrobe. I hope I'm not interrupting, she said, noticing Lexus's papers. These reports needed your signature before tomorrow. Perfect timing, actually, I said. Lexus was just working on her law school application. Jacqueline's face softened. Following in your mother's footsteps? And Dad's, Lexus added. But mostly Mom's. She showed me that it's never too late to chase your dreams. She showed us all that, Jacqueline said quietly, setting down the reports. Mind if I take a look at your essay? I watched as my daughter and mother-in-law bent over the application together. Jacqueline pointing out phrases that could be stronger. Lexus eagerly taking notes. The scene would have been unimaginable a year ago. Sandra? Heidi's voice came through my phone. The Thompson merger just hit a snag. We need you at the office. I'll be there in 20. I gathered my things. Jacqueline, can you help Lexus finish the essay? I trust your judgment. The look of surprise and gratitude on her face was worth every bitter moment of the past. At the office, I found Heidi pacing. The other side's trying to back out. They claim we misrepresented the terms. Get me Moses and the merger documents, I said, slipping into director mode. And call their lawyer. What's his name? Actually, Heidi smiled. It's their new lawyer, someone you know. The conference room door opened, and there stood my husband, Prince. Counselor, I said professionally, fighting a smile. Director Quinn, he replied, equally formal. Shall we discuss the merger? 3 hours of intense negotiation later, we reached a compromise that satisfied both parties. As we packed up our files, Prince caught my hand. Remember our first case against each other in court? He asked. When I destroyed your argument and won? I grinned. When you showed me just how far you'd come. He corrected. I've never been more proud or more attracted to you. Save it for home, lovebirds, Heidi called from the doorway. Sandra, your mother-in-law's looking for you. I found Jacqueline in my office, still holding Lexus's essay. We finished it, she said. It's good. Really good. Thank you for helping her. Sandra. She took a deep breath. I need to say something. Properly this time. I sat down, gesturing for her to continue. I was wrong about you. Not just about your capabilities, but about everything. I was so caught up in my own importance that I couldn't see the strength in others. Especially in you. Jacqueline, please let me finish. Working here, under you, it's been humbling, but it's also been enlightening. You could have crushed me. Instead, you taught me. You gave me dignity when I had none left. Everyone deserves a chance to reinvent themselves, I said. You did more than reinvent yourself. You became someone better while staying true to who you are. I admire that. The words hung in the air between us, healing old wounds. Want to know something funny? I asked. All those years I spent trying to prove you wrong, and in the end, the biggest victory wasn't proving anything. It was finding peace with who I am. And showing an old woman she still had a lot to learn, she added with a small smile. My phone buzzed, a text from Kian. Maid honor roll. Grandma Jackie's been helping me study after work. I showed Jacqueline the message. Her eyes welled up. They don't call me Grandma Jackie anymore, she said. Now it's just Grandma. Feels more real somehow. Real is good, I agreed. Real is what we build on. Prince appeared in the doorway. Ready to head home? Lexus texted. She's making dinner. Heaven help us, Jacqueline laughed. Remember when she tried to make coq au vin? Like mother, like daughter, I said, remembering my own early cooking disasters. As we walked to the parking lot together, director, lawyer, and corporate compliance officer, daughter-in-law, husband and mother-in-law, family, I realized something profound. Success isn't just about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about proving to yourself that you can rise above the need for revenge, that you can turn adversaries into allies, and that the greatest victory isn't in defeating others, but in helping them grow alongside you. Race you home? Prince suggested. Winner gets to critique Lexus's cooking? Jacqueline offered. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. Game on.
The antique jewelry box felt unusually light in my hands. That was my first clue something was wrong. My grandmother's emerald necklace, the pearl earrings she wore at her wedding, the sapphire ring passed down 3 generations. All of them gone. In their place lay a hastily scribbled note in my mother-in-law's unmistakable handwriting. Had to borrow these. Will explain later. Karen. I'm Raylin, and this was the moment my perfect family facade began to crack. My hands trembled as I dialed Karen's number. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. Darling, I was just thinking about you. Karen's syrupy voice came through the speaker. Where is my grandmother's jewelry? I kept my voice steady, though my knuckles were white from gripping the phone. Oh, that. She paused. Well, you never wear them anyway. They were just collecting dust in that old box. Karen, where are they? I had some financial difficulties. You know how these things go. The jewelry fetched a good price. The room spun. You sold them? Without asking me? Now, dear, don't be dramatic. They were just trinkets. I grabbed my car keys. I'm coming over. That's not necessary. I hung up and drove to her house, breaking at least 3 traffic laws. Karen opened the door before I could knock, wearing her signature pearl necklace. Not my grandmother's, of course. Hers was probably genuine. Raylin, you're overreacting, she said as I brushed past her into the living room. Noah agrees with me that you never appreciated those pieces properly. I whirled around. You talked to Noah about this? Of course. He's my son. He understands that family helps family. Those weren't yours to sell. My voice cracked. That emerald necklace was the last thing my grandmother gave me before she died. Karen waved her hand dismissively. And now it's helping family. Isn't that what your grandmother would have wanted? Don't you dare pretend you know what she would have wanted. I stepped closer. How much? Excuse me? How much did you get for them? Karen straightened her blouse. 8,000. I needed it for what? Another spa weekend? A new handbag? I had debts to settle. She sniffed. Really, Raylin, this attitude is exactly why Noah worried about letting you keep such valuable pieces. My phone buzzed. Noah. Where are you? Mum called saying you're acting crazy. I laughed bitterly. Did she tell you she sold my grandmother's jewelry? Yeah, she mentioned that. He sounded annoyed. Look, they were just sitting there. Mom needed the money, and you never even wore them. They were mine, Noah. Mine. They're just things, Ray. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is. I looked at Karen, who wore a small, satisfied smile. In that moment, something inside me hardened. You're right, I said quietly. They're just things. And I'm just your wife, right? Just the girl who gave up her career to support your promotion. Just the woman who handles all the family events while your mother takes credit. Just the person whose inheritance apparently belongs to everyone except her. Ray, I'll be home later. I hung up and faced Karen. You know what the funny thing is? My grandmother always said jewelry tells stories. Each piece carries memories, moments, legacies. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? To you, they're just things to pawn when you're short on cash. Karen's smile faltered. Now you're just being petty. No, I'm being clear. For the first time in 5 years, I'm seeing everything clearly. I walked to the door, then turned back. You know what else my grandmother taught me? That karma has a way of coming full circle. Remember that, Karen. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you something. I met her eyes. You think you've won because you've taken my grandmother's legacy, but you've just given me something far more valuable, motivation. To do what? She laughed nervously. To show you, Noah, and everyone else exactly what I'm capable of. I opened the door. You've always treated my passion for jewelry design as a cute little hobby. Time to change that narrative. As I drove home, my mind was already racing with plans. Karen thought she'd broken me by selling my grandmother's jewelry. Instead, she'd lit a fire. I pulled out my phone and called my best friend Andrea. Hey, remember that business idea we talked about last month? The one you said I should pursue? I took a deep breath. I'm ready, and I know exactly where to start. The jewelry might be gone, but my grandmother's real legacy, her creativity, her determination, her spirit, that lived in me. And I was about to make sure everyone remembered that. You should have seen her face when I told her about karma, I said, sprawled on Andrea's couch, nursing my second glass of wine. Like she couldn't decide whether to laugh or call security. Andrea sat cross-legged on the floor, her laptop open to a business plan template. Karen's always underestimated you. But seriously, Ray, what's the actual plan here? Because revenge through success sounds great, but we need details. I pulled out my sketchbook, flipping to the designs I'd been too afraid to show anyone. Remember how I used to sketch my grandmother's pieces? I've been developing my own collections based on them, modern takes on classic designs. These are incredible, Andrea leaned forward, pointing to a necklace design. Is this inspired by the emerald piece Karen sold? Yeah, I smiled. But see how I've reimagined it? Instead of one central stone, it's a cascade of smaller gems, more wearable, more modern. And more marketable, Andrea added, typing furiously. We could start with an online presence, build a following on Instagram, showcase your process. The doorbell rang. Andrea checked her phone and grinned. Perfect timing. I invited someone you need to meet. She opened the door to reveal a sharp-dressed man in his 40s. Raylin, this is Daniel Oliver. He's an investor who specializes in emerging luxury brands. I shot Andrea a panicked look, but she just winked. Andrea's been telling me about your work, Daniel said, settling into an armchair. She mentioned you're looking to turn your designs into a proper business. I straightened up, suddenly very aware of my wine glass. I am. Though I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to pitch to an investor tonight. Good. Rehearsed pitches are boring. He gestured to my sketchbook. Mind if I take a look? For the next hour, we talked designs, market positioning, and production costs. Daniel asked tough questions, but his eyes lit up at several of my sketches. There's something here, he said finally. Your designs tell stories. That's rare in this market. Most new designers chase trends. You're creating narratives. That's what jewelry should do, I said. Every piece should mean something. Speaking of meaning, Andrea interjected, tell him about your grandmother's collection. I hesitated, then shared the story of Karen's betrayal. Daniel's expression darkened. So you're planning to recreate the lost pieces? Not exactly. I'm using them as inspiration to create something new. Something that honors the past but looks to the future. I pulled out my phone, showing him photos of the original jewelry. See this ring? Instead of copying it, I'm taking its essence, the way the sapphire caught light from 3 angles, and translating that into a modern design. With a built-in marketing story, Daniel nodded. The phoenix rising from the ashes narrative. People love that. This isn't just about marketing. Of course not, he cut in. It's personal. That's what makes it powerful. But if you want to succeed, really succeed, you need to think bigger than revenge. Andrea leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that selling a few pieces online isn't enough. You need a launch event, something that puts your brand on the map. He paused. Something that forces certain people to acknowledge your success. Like a fancy dinner party. Andrea's eyes sparkled. Where Raylin could debut her collection to potential buyers and, I don't know, invite her entire family. I caught her meaning and couldn't help smiling. That would be quite an event. I'll tell you what, Daniel said, standing. Develop a proper business plan. Show me production costs, marketing strategy, everything. If I like what I see, I might be interested in backing your launch. After he left, Andrea poured more wine. Well, it's happening fast, I admitted. This morning I was just angry. Now we're talking investors and launch parties. Sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. She grabbed her laptop. Now, let's work on that business plan. We have a mother-in-law to impress. I pulled out my phone to check the time and saw 3 missed calls from Noah. I silenced it. You'll have to talk to him eventually, Andrea said softly. I know, but right now I need to focus on this. I opened my sketchbook to a fresh page. Besides, actions speak louder than words, and I'm about to make quite a statement. As we worked into the night, my grandmother's words echoed in my mind. Jewelry isn't just about beauty, dear. It's about power. The power to mark moments, to tell stories, to transform yourself. Karen thought she'd stripped me of my inheritance. Instead, she'd given me the push I needed to claim my own power. And this time, I wouldn't let anyone take it away. The sound of metal hitting metal filled my converted garage workshop as I carefully shaped a delicate silver wire. 3 weeks had passed since meeting Daniel, and I'd barely left the space except for essentials. Honey, Noah's voice interrupted my concentration. It's midnight. Are you coming to bed? I didn't look up from my work. Almost done with this piece. He sighed, leaning against my workbench. You've been out here every night this week. This hobby is getting out of hand. The word hobby made my hand still. It's not a hobby, Noah. It's a business. Come on, Ray, you can't seriously think. I have an investor interested. I finally met his eyes. A real one. Daniel Oliver. Noah's expression shifted from dismissive to concerned. You're meeting with strange investors now. Does Mum know about this? Why would your mother need to know about my business decisions? Because she has experience. She ran that boutique for years. The one she had to sell to pay off her gambling debts. The words shot out before I could stop them. Noah's face reddened. That's not fair. She had a rough patch. A rough patch that she solved by selling my inheritance. I turned back to my work. And no, I haven't told her about Daniel. I don't need her sabotaging this too. You're being paranoid. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, if you need money for your project, we can discuss it. But getting involved with outside investors is risky. I held up the piece I was working on. A pendant inspired by my grandmother's emerald necklace, but with my own twist. Instead of a single stone, I'd created a cascade of tiny emeralds set in a modern, asymmetrical design. What do you see when you look at this? Noah shrugged. It's nice. Pretty. Pretty, I repeated. Your mother saw my grandmother's jewelry as just pretty things to pawn. You see my work as just a pretty hobby. Neither of you actually see me. The doorbell rang, surprising us both at this late hour. That's probably Malia, Noah said. She mentioned stopping by. I followed him to the door, where his sister stood with 2 bottles of wine and an apologetic smile. Sorry it's so late. I was in the neighborhood and saw your lights on. She breezed past us into the kitchen. Noah, be a dear and grab some glasses. As Noah went for wine glasses, Malia turned to me. So, little sister, rumor has it you're starting a business. My guard went up immediately. Who told you that? Oh, you know how word travels in this family. She smiled sweetly. Mum's worried you're making rash decisions because of the jewelry situation. The jewelry situation, I repeated flatly. You mean when she stole and sold my inheritance? Ancient history. Malia waved her hand. Family forgives. But this business venture, are you sure you're ready for something like that? The market's so competitive. Noah returned with the glasses. That's what I was just saying. I mean, look what happened to Mum's boutique, Malia continued, and she had years of experience. Your mother's boutique failed because she gambled away the profits, I said quietly. Not because of market conditions. Malia's smile tightened. Careful, Raylin. Family dynamics can shift very quickly when people start throwing around accusations. Is that a threat? A friendly warning? From someone who's been in this family longer than you? She sipped her wine. Mom's protective of Noah. She won't like you risking your joint finances on some jewelry-making scheme. I laughed. You know what? I don't care what Karen likes anymore. And my finances are none of her business. Ray, Noah started, but I cut him off. No, I'm done letting your family dictate my choices. I headed back to my workshop. Lock up when you leave, Malia. Behind me, I heard Malia's stage whisper, Noah, you need to get this under control. Mom's really worried about her. In my workshop, I pulled out my phone and texted Andrea. Family ambush tonight. They're already trying to stop me. Her reply came instantly. Perfect. The more they underestimate you, the better. BTW, Daniel loved your business plan. Meeting tomorrow at 10. I smiled, picking up my tools again. Let them think I was being rash. Let them whisper their warnings and concerns. Every doubt they expressed just fueled my determination. I worked through the night, completing 3 more pieces for my collection. Each one told a story, not just of what was lost, but of what I was becoming. And soon, very soon, they'd all see exactly what I was capable of. As dawn broke, I heard Noah leave for work without saying goodbye. That would have hurt once. Now it just reminded me why I needed to succeed. Not just for revenge, but for myself. Your Instagram following has tripled in the last 2 weeks, Daniel said, scrolling through my social media metrics. The behind-the-scenes videos of your crafting process are especially popular. We sat in his downtown office, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows. 2 months had passed since our first meeting, and my brand was gaining traction faster than I'd imagined. The pre-orders are exceeding expectations too, I added, pulling up the sales data on my tablet. Especially for the Phoenix collection. Daniel smiled. Interesting name choice. Rising from the ashes seemed appropriate. His phone buzzed. The smile faded as he read the message. We might have a problem. Someone's been calling my office, asking questions about your business. My stomach dropped. Karen? She's persistent, I'll give her that. Called 3 times yesterday, claiming she's your business partner. She's not... I know. He held up a hand. But she's also been reaching out to other potential investors, suggesting your business might not be legitimate. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a text from Andrea. Emergency. Karen's at the workshop. I have to go. I grabbed my bag. She's at my studio. Want me to come with you? No, I need to handle this myself. I broke several speed limits getting to my workshop. Karen's luxury SUV was parked outside, and Andrea stood guard at the door, arms crossed. She just showed up demanding to see your workspace, Andrea said as I approached. I told her it was private property. Karen spotted me and strutted over, designer handbag swinging. Raylin, darling, your friend here seems confused about family boundaries. There are no family boundaries anymore, Karen. You crossed them all when you sold my jewelry. Still dwelling on that, I thought you'd moved past it. She peered around me at the workshop door. I'm here to help, actually. I heard you're starting a little business, and with my experience, your experience in running a boutique into the ground, her smile tightened. I'm trying to prevent you from making expensive mistakes. These investors you're meeting with, do you really know who they are? Better than they know you, apparently. I stepped closer. Stop calling Daniel's office. Stop spreading rumors. Stop interfering. I'm protecting my son's interests. Your reckless spending on this hobby could affect his financial future. I haven't spent a dime of Noah's money. Every investment has been my own. Your own? She laughed. Where exactly did this money come from? From selling my car, from my savings, from the jewelry pieces I've already sold. I pulled out my phone, showing her my brand's website. See these pre-order numbers? That's all me. No help from family required. Karen's face darkened as she scrolled through the sales figures. These designs, They look familiar. They should. They're inspired by the pieces you stole. I did not. Save it. I took my phone back. You know what's funny? If you hadn't sold my grandmother's jewelry, I might never have found the courage to start this business. So really, I should thank you. Noah won't stand for this. Noah doesn't have a say in my business decisions. I opened my workshop door. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have orders to fill. This isn't over, Karen called as I went inside. Family dinner on Sunday, we'll discuss this properly. I turned back. Actually, I'm hosting a dinner party of my own soon. You'll all be invited to see exactly what this little business has become. After Karen left, Andrea followed me into the workshop. You know she's going straight to Noah, right? Let her. I picked up a half-finished necklace. I'm done hiding my success to make them comfortable. My phone buzzed with a text from Noah. Mom's upset, says you were disrespectful. We need to talk. I showed Andrea the message. Right on cue. What are you going to do? I opened my calendar and selected a date 2 weeks away. Book that dinner party. It's time everyone saw the truth, all at once. Drama with a side of karma. Andrea grinned. I'm in. I started crafting the invitation list. Karen and her husband, Noah, Malia and her husband, Daniel, and several prominent local jewelry buyers. The pieces from my Phoenix collection would be displayed throughout the dining room, each one a testament to what Karen's betrayal had sparked. They think they're coming to a family dinner, I said, finalizing the guest list. They have no idea they're about to attend the launch of the season's most talked-about jewelry brand. Andrea squeezed my shoulder. Your grandmother would be so proud. I touched the workshop key hanging around my neck, the last gift my grandmother gave me. She always said success is the best revenge. Time to prove her right. 3 days before the dinner party, I stood in my workshop, carefully arranging the Phoenix collection display. Each piece told part of my story, from loss to rebirth. The centerpiece was a necklace that echoed my grandmother's emerald piece, but with a modern twist that made it uniquely mine. My phone chimed with an anonymous email. Thought you might find these interesting. Attached were screenshots of Karen's text messages to various family members over the years. My heart raced as I scrolled through them. Had to borrow from Noah's college fund, he'll never know. Malia's husband almost caught me taking from their joint account. Close call. That silly girl Raylin trusts me with everything. Too easy. The timestamps showed years of manipulation and financial abuse. I forwarded the email to Andrea. Her response was immediate. Holy shit. Who sent these? No idea, I texted back, but they're real. The college fund text matches exactly when Noah had to take out extra loans. The workshop door opened, and Noah walked in, the first time he'd visited since our fight. You've been busy, he said, looking around at the displays. That's what happens when you turn a hobby into a business. He picked up one of the pieces, a bracelet inspired by my grandmother's pearl set. These are actually really good, Ray. Try not to sound so surprised. He set the bracelet down carefully. Mom's worried about the dinner party. Of course she is. She thinks you're planning something. I met his eyes. She's right. Ray, please, can't we just have a nice family dinner without drama? Like the nice family dynamic we had when your mother sold my inheritance. Or the nice family support I got when starting my business. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is this. I showed him the screenshots. Your college fund, Noah. She gambled away your college fund and let you take out loans to cover it. His face paled as he read. Where did you get these? Does it matter? They're real and you know it. I took my phone back. Your mother has been stealing from this family for years. The only difference is, I'm the first one to stand up to her. I need to think. He headed for the door, then paused. The dinner party. What are you planning? Come and see. I turned back to my display. Oh, and Noah, wear something nice. There will be photographers. After he left, I received another anonymous email. This one contained bank statements, showing Karen had recently taken out 3 new credit cards in Noah's name. My phone rang. Andrea. I know who sent the emails, she said without greeting. Malia's husband works at the bank. He's been gathering evidence of Karen's fraud for months. Why would he help me? Apparently, Karen's been stealing from their accounts too. He's fed up. I sat down heavily. This is bigger than I thought. Use it, Andrea said firmly. The dinner party isn't just about your jewelry now, it's about exposing the truth. Daniel's bringing fashion journalists and buyers, I said. Karen won't be able to dismiss this as family drama with the press there. Speaking of press, your latest Instagram post hit 10,000 likes. The teaser video for the Phoenix collection is going viral. I smiled, remembering Karen's dismissal of my little business. Perfect timing. A text came through from Malia. We need to talk. Coffee tomorrow. Malia wants to meet, I told Andrea. Think her husband told her about the evidence? Only one way to find out. Just be careful. I confirmed the coffee meeting with Malia, then returned to my display preparation. The pieces needed to be perfect, each one a symbol of everything Karen had tried to destroy. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. Major fashion blog picked up the story of your launch. They love the rising from betrayal angle. Karen's actions might actually help sales. I laughed at the irony. By trying to suppress my dreams, Karen had given them wings. By stealing my inheritance, she'd forced me to create my own legacy. The final piece I placed was a ring, a simple band with a hidden inscription, "From ashes, rise." I'd made it as a reminder to myself, but now it felt like a battle cry. 2 more days until the dinner party. 2 more days until Karen and everyone else saw exactly what their underestimation had created. The invitations had gone out, the press was interested, and my collection was ready. Let Karen worry, let her scheme and plot. This time, I wasn't the naive daughter-in-law hoping for approval. I was a businesswoman about to launch a brand built on the very betrayal meant to break me, and I was ready for war. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy as Malia slid into the seat across from me. Her usual polished appearance seemed slightly frayed at the edges. I know what you're planning, she said without preamble. The dinner party isn't just a family gathering. Never was. I stirred my coffee. Question is, why are you really here? Malia glanced around before pulling out her phone. Have you seen this? She showed me a series of bank statements. My husband works at the bank and he found, Karen's been stealing from you too, I finished. I know. $6,000, Raylin, from our children's savings account. Her hands shook slightly. She said she was helping us invest it. Instead, she lost it gambling. Malia's eyes welled up. I defended her. When she sold your grandmother's jewelry, I actually defended her. You weren't the only one she fooled. No, but I was the one who helped her do it. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She asked me to distract you that day, keep you busy while she got into your house. I thought she was planning a surprise, not... The revelation hit like a physical blow. You helped her steal my inheritance? I'm sorry. Malia reached for my hand, but I pulled back. That's why I'm here. I want to make it right. How? I have evidence. Years of it. Bank statements, text messages, recordings of her admitting to taking money from all of us. She pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here. I stared at the small device. Why give this to me now? Because you're the only one brave enough to stand up to her. Malia's voice hardened. And because she's trying to stop your dinner party. What do you mean? She's calling everyone on the guest list, telling them it's cancelled. She's even contacted some journalists, feeding them false stories about your business. My phone buzzed, Daniel calling. Excuse me, I need to take this. Raylin, Daniel's voice was tense. We have a situation. Karen's been contacting my other clients, telling them I'm investing in a fraudulent business. Can she hurt us? Not legally, but she's creating noise we don't need right before the launch. He paused. There's more. She's trying to get the venue to cancel our booking for tomorrow night. I felt Malia watching me. Let her try. I have something that might help. After ending the call, I held up the USB drive. What exactly is on here? Everything. Malia's eyes gleamed. including proof that she's been forging Noah's signature on loan documents. The latest one was just last week. My phone lit up with texts from Andrea. Major fashion blogger confirmed for tomorrow. Also, Noah's been trying to reach you. I have to go, I told Malia. But thank you for this. Wait, she grabbed my arm. I want to help tomorrow night, really help. Let me be part of exposing her. I studied her face, looking for any sign of deception. Why should I trust you? Because she stole from my children. Malia's voice cracked. And because you were right about karma. It's time she faced hers. Back at my workshop, I found Noah waiting. The bank called, he said quietly. About credit cards I never applied for. I know. Did you know before? Is that what tomorrow night is really about? I opened my laptop, plugged in Malia's USB drive. See for yourself. For the next hour, Noah sat in silence, reading through years of his mother's deceptions. His face grew paler with each document. All this time, he whispered. Every time I defended her. Noah, no, let me finish. He stood up, pacing. I chose her side, over and over. Even when she sold your grandmother's jewelry, I chose her side. Yes, you did. The dinner party tomorrow. Do what you need to do. He met my eyes. I won't stop you anymore. After he left, Andrea arrived with final preparations for tomorrow. The press is confirmed, the buyers are excited, and the collection is ready, she said, checking her list. Now we just need to stop Karen from... She can't stop this, I interrupted, holding up the USB drive. Not anymore. My phone chimed with a text from Karen. Darling, about tomorrow night. Perhaps we should postpone. Family matters should be discussed privately. I smiled, thinking of the evidence in my possession, the press waiting to cover the event, and the collection that would tell my story to the world. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, I texted back. Don't be late. The pieces were all in place. Tomorrow night, Karen would learn that some family matters deserve to be public after all. The private dining room at La Maison gleamed with strategic lighting, each piece of my collection displayed like precious artifacts in a museum. Fashion bloggers circulated with champagne flutes, their phones already capturing every detail. Daniel worked the room, chatting with potential buyers, while Andrea directed the photographer's attention to key pieces. They're here, Malia whispered, appearing at my side. Karen swept in with her usual dramatic flair, faltering slightly at the sight of the press. Noah followed, his face unreadable. The rest of the family trickled in behind them, murmuring at the unexpected setup. Raylin, darling, Karen's voice carried across the room. There seems to be some confusion. I thought this was a family dinner. Oh, it is. I gestured to the displays, along with the launch of my jewelry brand. Please, everyone take your seats. Karen's eyes narrowed at the place cards, finding herself positioned directly across from me. Perfect view of everything to come. Before we begin, I stood, addressing the room, I'd like to share a story about legacy. Raylin, Karen warned, but I continued. 6 months ago, my mother-in-law sold my grandmother's jewelry collection without my permission. Cameras clicked as Karen's face reddened. She claimed it was just gathering dust. What she didn't realize was that she gave me something far more valuable than those pieces. She gave me motivation. Daniel stepped forward. Which is why I'm proud to announce my company's significant investment in Raylin's Phoenix collection. A collection, I added, inspired by the very pieces that were stolen from me. I did not steal, Karen started. No, I nodded to Malia, who connected her laptop to the room's projector. Let's talk about stealing, Karen. The screen filled with bank statements, text messages, and loan documents. Karen's face went from red to white as her years of financial manipulation displayed for all to see. That's private family business, she hissed, like Noah's college fund that you gambled away. I clicked to the next slide. Or the credit cards you opened in his name last week. Gasps filled the room. A fashion blogger's fingers flew across her phone screen. Noah, Karen turned to her son, tell them this is ridiculous. I've seen the evidence, Mom. Noah's voice was quiet but firm. All of it. The Phoenix collection, I continued, my voice steady, isn't just about beautiful jewelry. It's about rising from betrayal. Each piece tells a story of transformation. I lifted the necklace I was wearing, my modern version of the emerald piece. This design, for instance, was inspired by my grandmother's necklace, the one you sold for $8,000. I smiled at Karen. It just sold for $20,000 in pre-orders. Impossible, Karen whispered. Actually, Daniel stepped in, we've had to start a waiting list. Your daughter-in-law's designs are the talk of the industry. And speaking of industry, I gestured to the displays, every piece here represents something you tried to take from me, but instead of breaking me, you made me stronger. Karen stood abruptly. This is a setup, a vindictive attempt to what? Malia interrupted. To expose the truth? Like how you stole from my children's savings account. The room fell silent. Karen looked around wildly, finding no allies. I have built something beautiful from your betrayal, I said softly. While you were trying to stop this dinner party, I was signing contracts with 3 major retailers. While you were spreading rumors about my business, I was being featured in fashion magazines. You ungrateful. The police have been notified about the credit card fraud, Noah cut in, and the bank is investigating all suspicious activities. Karen's composure finally cracked. I am your mother. Everything I did was for this family. No, I picked up a small box from the table. Everything you did was for yourself. But I want to thank you, Karen. Without your betrayal, I might never have found my strength. I opened the box, revealing a delicate ring, the one inscribed with, "From ashes, rise." This piece isn't for sale. It's a reminder that sometimes our greatest pain leads to our greatest triumph. The fashion bloggers were practically vibrating with excitement. Daniel was already fielding calls from buyers. And Karen stood frozen, watching her carefully constructed world crumble. You can't do this to me, she whispered. You did this to yourself, Malia replied. We're just finally telling the truth. As Karen fled the room, Noah reached for my hand under the table. I squeezed it briefly before standing to address the press. They had questions about my inspiration, my designs, my future plans. But the real story, the one about betrayal, resilience, and rising from the ashes, had already written itself in the tears streaming down Karen's face as she ran from the truth she could no longer hide. The morning sun streamed through my workshop windows as I carefully packaged the last online order. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the dinner party. Journalists, buyers, and countless messages from people sharing their own stories of family betrayal and triumph. Your latest Instagram post hit 100,000 likes, Andrea announced, walking in with coffee. The video of Karen storming out might have helped. Did you see the comments on the Phoenix collection feature? All 5,000 of them. She grinned. My favorite was, Karen got served karma with a side of success. The workshop door opened again. Noah stood there, looking uncertain. The police want to talk to Mom again, he said, stepping inside. They found more evidence of fraud. How are you holding up? I asked. Better than her. He picked up one of my newest designs, a bracelet that seemed broken, but was intentionally crafted that way, the fragments held together by gold threading. Dad's filing for divorce. Turns out she's been stealing from him too. Andrea squeezed my shoulder. I'll give you 2 a minute. After she left, Noah traced the gold threading on the bracelet. This is beautiful. The way you made the broken pieces part of the design instead of hiding them. Sometimes broken things make the most interesting art. Like broken families. His voice cracked slightly. Noah. No, let me finish. He set down the bracelet. I've been thinking about what you said that night, about rising from betrayal. I watched you turn Mom's actions into something powerful while I just enabled her. You were loyal. That's not a bad thing. Loyalty shouldn't be blind. He met my eyes. I failed you, Ray. When she sold your grandmother's jewelry, when she tried to stop your business, every time she hurt you, I chose her side. Yes, you did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know I see it now. All of it. He pulled out an envelope. This is everything I inherited from my grandfather. It's not much, but it might help track down some of your grandmother's pieces. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Daniel, turn on Channel 7 now, he said without greeting. I grabbed the remote for the workshop's small TV. Karen's face filled the screen, standing outside the police station. Sources say Karen Rogers, local socialite, is facing multiple charges of fraud and financial abuse, the reporter announced. Several family members have come forward with evidence. Noah switched off the TV. She did this to herself. Maybe we all did, I said quietly. We all played our parts, her manipulating, you enabling, me staying quiet, until we didn't. The workshop door opened again. Malia entered, carrying a familiar jewelry box. Found this in Mum's storage unit, she said, placing it on my workbench. There's more, but I thought you should have this first. With trembling hands, I opened the box. Inside lay my grandmother's sapphire ring, the one piece Karen claimed she'd sold to an overseas buyer. She kept it. My voice wavered. She kept all of it, Malia said. The emerald necklace, the pearl earrings, everything. We'll bring them back piece by piece. I slipped the ring on my finger, its familiar weight both comforting and different. I wasn't the same person who last wore it. What happens now? Noah asked. Now? I picked up the broken but beautiful bracelet. Now we do what this piece represents. We acknowledge the breaks, strengthen the weak points, and create something new. Together. He sounded hopeful. That depends. I met his gaze. Are you ready to see me, really see me, without Karen's influence? Yes. No hesitation. Then yes, together. I handed him the bracelet. Starting with you wearing this to my first major runway show next week. His eyes widened. Runway show? Daniel's arranged for the Phoenix collection to feature in Fashion Week. I smiled. Turns out karma looks good on the catwalk. Malia laughed, then grew serious. Mom's going to hate watching your success from her jail cell. Maybe, I touched my grandmother's ring, or maybe she'll finally learn what I did, that sometimes losing everything is just the beginning of finding yourself. The morning sun caught the sapphire, sending blue light dancing across my workbench. Each sparkle reminded me of my grandmother's words. Jewelry tells stories, dear. Make sure yours is worth telling. Looking at my brother and sister-in-law, at my thriving business, at the ring I'd thought lost forever, I knew my story was just beginning. And this time, I was writing it on my own terms. Now, I picked up my tools. Who's ready to help me design something new?